COVID-19 likely originated from a lab leak, calling the assertion extremely unlikely. Benjamin Wright has the latest.
Officials pointed to findings from a joint China-WHO expert team.
The launch of DeepSeek R1, a new AI model by Chinese startup DeepSeek, has sparked a social media frenzy.
The AI's rapid rise has disrupted the tech industry, with users sharing memes and commentary about its potential impact.
In the Middle East, Israel has announced that 8 hostages due to be released in the first phase of a ceasefire agreement with Hamas are confirmed dead. Joseph Eckerson reporting.
The announcement follows intelligence reports that matched information provided by Hamas.
The Democratic Republic of Congo is facing escalating violence as clashes between M23 rebels and government forces intensify. Lawrence Keller reports.
Videos shared online show rebels patrolling the streets of Goma, a major city in the region.
The opinions expressed on this program are those of the host or guest and should not be interpreted as
I feel like that went a little too smooth, that transition
Independent
there.
fact-checking and corrections are encouraged.
Can we get a cup of coffee in here, please?
Yeah. This won't go. Right?
Damn good coffee. And hot.
I'm gonna my dog is your bag.
My dog is your mind's best friend.
Oh, sorry. Oh, time to wake up. Hello.
My dog is your mind's best friend.
On the radio. I want to be on the radio.
Wake up, America. You've got a dog that needs walking. That's right, sunshine. Just put on a big pot of strong coffee and get ready to type your little hate mail with your opinions about kumbaya and flat earth insanity. Stand-up comedy? You want stand-up comedy? Well, we've got sit-down comedy. It's time for Coffee with a Dog. You make me laugh.
I give up. Oh my God. This is about happening now on LinkedIn. This is happening now on LinkedIn. Listen, if you're at work and you're watching this, you're fired. If you're listening to this, if you can do your work while you do it, I guess. What are you doing, sitting in your cubicle? Let's see if this repeats on its own or it stops. You never can tell. It goes to show you never can tell. Look at that. It stopped on its own. Good morning, folks. It's me. Hi. It's Wednesday, right? Do I have that correct? Is it Wednesday, January 29th, 2025? Almost done with the worst month of the year. But then we get into the second worst month of the year. So, you know what? It goes in order. It goes the worst month of the year to the second month of the year to the third worst month of the year, or whatever. I'm still asleep. It's not every day that we can have people who went to Ukraine to do comedy and started a war or contributed to the war and got to light off fireworks and send them to Russia. It's not every day that we get to do that. But today we have authors. We have authors and audiobook narrators. Guy in the second hour, Robert A. Lane will be with us. He's an audiobook coach, transformational coach. I think he's a former radio host and television media back end behind the scenes technical guy. In his audiobook images, as you see in the promo of this show, he's got lots of Logic Pro, all sorts of audio equipment behind him. It looks like a musician as well. We'll find out. In the first hour, we have Brad Elder, who is a lawyer from Texas, who has written a thriller novel. He's going to be a next Tom Clancy or something. So that's what we got going for you today. In the meantime, it's just a never end. The bullshit and the lying and the nonsense. Yesterday, this what's her name? Caroline Leavitt, the new press secretary, went on there and promised she would never lie. She was going to tell the truth. She was there as a spokesman for Donald Trump. Now, if you're a spokesman and going to say what Donald Trump wants you to say, you really can't pledge to tell the truth because you're never going to tell the truth. But she told the American people that we sent $50 million to Gaza for contraceptives. That was a lie. It's just a lie. We didn't send any. We didn't send any contraceptives to Gaza. She just made that up. I don't know why she pulled that number, because the number the federal government supposedly spent on contraceptives, which was stayed domestically mostly, was $61 million, but it wasn't for Gaza or anywhere in the Middle East. But so she made, you know what? They're just saying that stuff just to rile people up. We are noticing quite a few people who were pardoned, the January 6ers pardoned, now are wanted for crimes. Another sex offender on the loose. Yeah, you know, but let's deport children, because we need to have have as many crazy people let free from prisons. And then, you know what? Honestly, if Joe Biden would have pardoned the January 6ers, I'd be just as pissed as him. People were, "Oh, you're a Democrat." I've never been a Democrat. I don't play party politics. If you fuck up, you fuck up. I am not happy with the whole pardoning power of the presidency. It was not meant to just to hand out favors. It never was. But there it is. You know what? There was a time, I think, it was used judiciously, and but people put a lot of thought into it. Now it's like, hey, buddy, you need a pardon? It's not a good thing. Anyway, we're gonna get moving on with the show. I'm gonna play you a little commercial. Then we'll see the boys in the dog pound, or the dogs in the boy pound, or something like that. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Mind Bloom is helping people achieve life-changing clinical and personal breakthroughs, alchemizing both the psychedelic medication, psychiatric care from psychiatric clinicians, coaches we call psychedelic guides, and a lot of content and meditations and programs into this really transformational experience that, because it's delivered at home, costs a lot less and is a lot more convenient for people to receive.
I get it. That's the problem. You know, Mind Bloom. I don't know. I don't know if I'm allowed to do ketamine therapy online. What am I supposed? Who's doing that? Who's doing that? Raise your hand. You. Why now? Why did you take it upon yourself to be Mr. Brady Bunch?
Well, you know, if I could be anything, it's going to be helpful. So.
All right. That voice, ladies and gentlemen, on the radio, that is the voice of Stephen Nee. I took it upon myself, sitcom Ortiz. And also with me is Ron Nee. I don't care. I hate this fucking show, Kane. And GD, please stab me with a spoon, Fenderson. Good morning, GD.
Good morning, America. MyDogTV.com. Do you have a dog that pounds boys? Better put a government-sanctioned condom on that puppy. MyDogTV.com. Enjoy the suffering and support your local mercenaries.
You know, I'm glad GD picked up on that. You said boys from the dog pound, dogs to the boy pound. That's see, you can't send the dog to the boy pound.
He's very quick for a black guy. He's one of the good ones.
I'll give you that.
That's what Jimmy the Greek has been saying. We've been bred to be quick.
I was told that's what to look for in one of them.
we got quick twitch muscles.
It's fast twitch muscle fiber.
Right.
So says the white guy who doesn't have any muscle fiber.
Whoa.
I got one muscle, and I'll send you a picture of it right now.
You know that douchebag from?
Let me send you my Zoom lens. Let me send you my Zoom lens so you can do that.
Are you guys familiar with the douchebag who runs Barstool Sports?
Oh yeah, fucking
Dave Portnoy.
Yeah, he's a
So,
fucking Michigan fan.
So somebody told him he didn't have an athletic bone in his body. Gigi just reminded of the guy with the no muscle fiber. And every time somebody insults his manlyhood or his athleticism or whatever, he pulls up a clip from when he was like 14 years old, and he hit a home run in Little League or something, high school sports, whatever it was. But he claimed he wanted to claim it was like 680 feet shot. Now, it's not that. You could tell it's basically barely a home run where there's no fence and it just bounces off a car and whatever. But the pitcher who was throwing it, the pitch, I mean, this guy should have been pitching to girls in, first year Brownie League or whatever. It's like it was like on a tee, but he just brags about it like he's Mickey Mantle hitting a record shot home run over and over again, though. The same clip every time somebody brings up his frailty.
All right, fine. Next time you say that, GD, I'm going to bring up a video of Dave Portnoy as a 14-year-old, okay?
Well, that would be good. You don't have one of yourself like running a marathon?
Nope.
All right.
If I'm ever challenged about my athletic prowess, my past athletic prowess, I'll have to go downstairs and grab my trophies and medals and bring them up here and lay them out for you.
If you don't mind me saying, I think you're a little bit of a willy every time, though. You do brag a lot about, I was a great boxer, I was a great basketball player, I was a great whatever.
I don't think I ever said great. I was good at what I did.
I think you said exceptional, supernatural, or whatever you said.
I think you said something like Jordan is lucky you never made it to the pros or something like that.
Say that. Yeah.
No, that's true. Now, that is true. That is true. Now, that's true. That they are lucky that I didn't make it to the pros because I couldn't score for shit, but I could strategize to shut down anybody, I think. Except for 7-footers. Except for 7-footers. That was my
kryptonite. He said something like Bronny James calls me daddy, something like that.
I was Bo Jackson.
He knows he doesn't even call me. He knows better than call me because I just make him look bad.
All right.
To this day, he hasn't called me because he knows what I got for his ass.
Now, Brad Elder is with us. Brad is he's a guy who was a little bit humble about his golfing game, but he's also a racquetball player and blah 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 blah, an athlete. So maybe he'll have a clip of himself not golfing so well, hitting a hole in one with Ronald Palmer. He is, as I mentioned, a guy from Texas. I think he's probably going to be a MAGA guy, and hate me. Because all MAGA guys hate me, and everybody from Texas is a MAGA guy, right?
I don't know. I don't think so. I think there are some people in Texas that are not MAGA people; they're just stupid. And then there's some people in Texas who
way to insult the guest before we even bring them on. This is boring.
I didn't finish. I didn't finish. I said, and then there's some people in Texas
I mean all of us.
And then there are people in Texas who are.
Wait, are we talking about men? Are we talking about men for anal getting anal?
No, you're on the wrong show. I'm sorry. This is a Wendy's.
Well, you said MAGA, and I thought you meant men for anal getting anal. So that's
sir.
It's men always getting anal.
You're at the drive-thru, and we don't serve that here. So anyway, let's bring Brad on now that we've completely insulted him and been rude to him. Brad Elder, well, you know what? He's probably a little remorseful about last time when he didn't show up here. So maybe now we made him feel bad.
No, because I said there are people in Texas that are hopeful. That's hope. That's uplifting.
Okay, well, okay, yeah, but what they don't count what you say in Texas. Look at
that's right. That's right. I forgot.
All right,
it's the Lone Star State.
Oh boy, and he hasn't run away yet. Give him some credit, all right? He has not run away yet, like all guests usually do when we are like. Brad Elder is the CEO of Select Title LLC, a licensed attorney in the state of Texas, and a champion captain of the 2020 Chili Dipper. Do you know what that is? The Chili Dipper 2020.
That's a contest. That's a chili contest.
Where you dip chili? You just
actually, you dip your gonads in chili.
All right. He's
Or
from Odessa, Texas.
Maybe it's mountain oysters.
He's from Odessa, Texas, and he's the author of a brand new thriller novel. And he's here now to really kick our ass. He's back. Good morning, Brad. Thanks for being here. Sorry for all the rudeness, but thank you.
I did my homework very well on this. I didn't come with my comedic headset on this morning.
Yeah. We're trying our best to keep the morning light and full of some humor. Anyway, your book.
Yes.
Recoil of Justice. At Justice or of Justice? I can't even see that.
Recoil of Justice.
Okay. Tell us about the book.
Well, I always, a little background, I always kind of fancied myself a CIA agent or a black ops operative or something of that nature. Now, I love thriller novels, and I love the great authors, Jack Carr and Brad Thor, who write these kind of things. And it's hard to read them and love them and not kind of picture yourself as the badass that's the protagonist. So, you start to see patterns in these kind of things. And as I sat there, I thought, why not me? Why can't I do this? I mean, I have no creative writing skills. I have no traditional training. My last creative writing class was as a freshman in college in 1988. So it's been a few years. But I just again asked the question, why not me? And the question that came up into my mind was, what would happen if a normal person, an everyday guy, was put into some of these situations that the Scott Harvaths or the James Reeses are in? What would you do? I'm not talking about like a home invasion or something like that, where we all think to protect your family, you'll do whatever you have to protect your family. But a situation that you're thrust into, how would you handle it? And how would you handle failure? And how would you handle success and the recoil that comes from that success? So that's kind of where I started to explore this story from a protagonist, Ryan Wolf, who is not me. He's the guy I wish I was, younger, better looking, smarter, And so we start the story with a case. And I consider this a legal light novel, although I am a lawyer. I'm not that good at one, to be honest with you. I'm not so versed in litigation to where I think I could sit down and be the next John Grisham. Right, or I'm not nearly that good of a writer either, I'm sure. But I wanted to explore a normal person who just happens to be a lawyer and handles a case, and how this case morphs into something far more sinister than he originally thought. And he's put into a situation where he's up against some of the most dangerous criminals in the world. And what are you going to do when you're faced with that? And when you're faced with
a couple of things there. First of all, I think you're right, and I don't think the reader, people who read books, I don't think they would ever have a problem admitting that when they're reading the book, they like to put themselves in the place of that protagonist. But every author I talk to, how much of the protagonist is you when you're writing that, and most of them are in denial about, or at least resistant to admitting, I was thinking of me the whole time I was writing the book.
It's true, actually. Matt, when he reads 50 Shades of Grey, he puts himself in the place of the chick.
Actually, Matt puts himself in the place of the whip.
I'm glad you got to meet these guys the day they got fired. So, but
no, Brad, I'm actually curious because if you said you like to fancy yourself as a black ops, I don't know how you managed to do that, because when I applied, they would only give me black ops. I tried the other colors, and they said no, you can't do the white ops, you can't do the gray ops, and so I commend you for at least wanting to step outside your comfort zone and be black ops.
Well, it's institutional racism. They just wouldn't allow it.
Does that pass as comedy? I don't know. Anyway.
In Texas, yes.
Yeah. So the home invasion thing that you brought up, like, what would we do in that situation? I know what I would do. I would bleed to death with a bullet hole in my head while my wife recoils in horror and then gets raped and abused. That's
Jesus
what would
Christ! Why did that escalate so quick? Oh my God!
I feel bad for your wife.
Yeah. No,
Matt has like 9 dogs, 7 cats, and 18 chickens, and none of them would help out. That's
the chickens. The chickens would help. The chickens would help. The dogs would run away. The cats would want to be fed. That's the way it works.
Yeah, I think my dogs would lick a home invader to death.
Yeah. So now,
well, at least the home invader would be dead.
so Brad, when you're putting yourself in this position of what would I do, are you keeping it real? I mean, or are you fantasizing about the me that is Superman that I lie to myself about? Like, because I know, as I just mentioned, I would try and fail out pretty quickly and end up losing. I mean, I'm just thinking if the guy was competent at all. I mean, of course, if the guy's just like the home invader is just a pathetic weakling, I would kick his ass. But generally, if he's got any competency at all as a home invader, I'm dead. Did you have to deal with like, seriously, how good am I?
Yeah. So I tried to keep it as real as humanly possible. Ryan Wolf, the protagonist, he has no formal training. He has no formal military experience. He's never killed anyone before. I harken back a little bit into his youth to where he grew up, hunting with his father and learning different ways to shoot a rifle, whether it be standing, whether it be prone position, and studying sign, things of that nature, to where he got used to holding a weapon, right, and got used to firing a weapon, but never firing a weapon at a human being. And he's put in a situation, and he's kind of considers himself as a lawyer an apex protector. He protects his clients, he protects the people around him. And he's put into a situation, I don't want to have many spoiler alerts, to where he potentially has to be an apex protector of his allies, but protection means taking someone else's life.
Cool.
So
now, when you say lawyers, what's his specialty? Because is he like a defendant, or does he?
He doesn't do criminal defense, so you can't call him.
Maybe civil rights.
That was
he's a commercial litigator.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know what?
Right.
Ryan Wolf is a cool. It's like Jack Ryan-ish. It's got some cachet to it for movie stuff. And I was just gonna say, whenever I write thriller novels in as a keyword for the program, when they don't accept thriller novels. They always think of it in terms of movies. Thriller. Oh, you must be talking about a movie. Nobody writes thriller novels anymore. But I think the Ryan Wolf name, now that is definitely got some Jack Ryan-ish cachet to it. So that's a good one.
Well, thank you. I hope it was originally going to be a different name completely, and I named him Brad Wayne initially, and my wife said,
like Bruce Wayne.
She said, that's kind of a pussy name. And I'm like, babe, that's my name. Bradley Wayne Elder is my name. And she's like, oh, yeah, you're right. Sorry, but it's
well, that says something. Your wife sees you as the hero in her version of this novel. So that's a good thing. Congratulations. I mean, the only other guy I know who has that going on is Rod Kane. His wife sees him as the hero of her novel, too. But the rest of us.
She sees me as a hero, but she hasn't even read the book yet.
Oh, wow.
She didn't even read it.
Really? Now that's unusual. Is there a reason behind it?
Or is it because she's lived it? She doesn't need to read it.
She's it's publishing in the next 30 days or so, and she said, I don't want to read it until it's a book in my hand. So I'm gonna give her a pass on that.
Is she gonna get the because we're showing the book in front of us, and it's got a ebook already out. Do you have an audiobook?
We don't have an audiobook as of yet. The ebook will be out, like I say, in the next 30 days or so. It's with the final copy editing right now. Nobody moves as quickly as I want them to move, but they're trying to do a very thorough job. Then I have one more read through, and if it's ready, it could be published. And that's one good thing positive thing about self-publishing is once it's ready, you push a button and it's out to the world. So it's not like traditional publishing, which has been an education on its own, doing something non-traditionally, although it's becoming far more traditional. It's becoming far all you have to do is Google self-publishing, and you'd be lost for days and pages and pages and pages of folks who claim that they can help you, and some can.
I've had many of those people on the program, and I understand that there are a lot of them. Some of them are better than others at it. Some of them actually have the experience of helping people with this. But I do think self-publishing is by far, in a way, overtaken traditional publishing as far as volume and the number of books published every year. It's just incredible.
I absolutely do too. If you want to see yourself on the shelves of Barnes and Noble, self-publishing, you need to probably flush your ego a little bit. You're probably not going to see that.
Now, can you self-publish a book? Go into Barnes and Nobles, put your book on the shelf, take a picture, and then you say, at least you have that fantasy.
You need to bring a stack. Nobody would believe just one book sitting on the shelf there.
Okay, two books.
I thought I was the only one with that idea.
Yeah. No, because I did that with my CDs. Now, if you could have anybody, anybody living, not dead, because you probably can't have the dead ones. Anybody living do the voice for your audiobook, who would it be?
Well, James Earl Jones just passed away, didn't he?
Right, that's why I said living, because everybody picks James Earl Jones, even for the women parts. So
I would not pick James Earl Jones for my book. I would Morgan Freeman would definitely be my guy.
God, yes. Okay, I'll call Morgan.
Yeah.
All right. Morgan.
He's on his deathbed.
Yeah.
But you know what?
I better mute this. I better mute this. I don't want y'all to hear his number when I dial it.
All right. We do have him in AI, though. I mean, you can basically type that in and basically get him to read the book through AI, and then he would sue you.
Yes. I tried some of the, there's AI models out there that you can type in your book and it will read. Man, that's more work than it's worth, because the cadence.
I would think you just upload it. No, you just upload the manuscript. No,
it also gets words wrong. There's some words it just will not say correctly. It's almost like they are paid to get those words wrong.
Listen, it's the AI use for words and speaking has gotten so bad and rampant. Okay, even in some of the games I play. I spent $120 on this game, on this flight simulator, and the goddamn AI can't even say engines. It says engines.
Yeah.
What the fuck is that?
Every day we have issues with the AI news guys and gals getting names wrong. But yesterday we had a comedian on, a friend of mine, who had gone to Ukraine. And he was talking about sending artillery over. As a comedian, they send them to the front lines immediately. But he kept saying Kyiv, and then I put the stuff into AI, and the AI says, "Does he mean Kiev?" Wow, the AI is correcting it.
Well, it depends. Actually, that depends. If you're from the Russians, I think the Russians say Kiev, and the Ukrainians say Kyiv. They have two different pronunciations.
I've heard it pronounced both ways on the news.
Right.
As well.
That's because if you're getting it, the Russians say it one way and the Ukrainians say it another. That's all.
Wow. Well, thanks for clearing that up. Now, Brad, what part of Texas are you in? I know you got your law degree with what is now Texas A&M. That's West Texas, right?
No, Texas A&M. It was Texas Wesleyan when I went there. It's in downtown Fort Worth, but Texas A&M has since purchased it. So I'm an Aggie by acquisition, as they say. I live in Lubbock, Texas, where Texas Tech is. I grew up in Odessa, but don't tell anybody that. But I moved up here a number of years ago, and I've lived in Lubbock since.
This is meaningless to anybody out there, but I spent every weekend for 4 years going to Lubbock because I was in Portales, New Mexico, and we could not buy whiskey or beer even in Portales, New Mexico. So we drove to Lubbock every weekend.
And Portales is beautiful this time of year too, isn't it?
Yeah. I feel like peanuts.
Peanuts or peanuts?
Now, the reason I asked, do they have Barnes and Noble? Because here they don't. There's no bookstores here.
Yeah, we have a Barnes and Noble. Lubbock's a 250,000 people or so, so it's a mid-sized market. So it'll have all all the main chain stores, and we have a few independent bookstores as well. But yeah, Barnes and Noble's here, but over 50% of all books now are bought online. And going back. Go ahead. I'm sorry, Stephen.
Oh no, you're good. I was gonna say there's bookstores on Long Island.
I think they were making a big fuss. Well, first of all, you're talking about Long Island. You're not talking about where I am. If you remember, Long Island has a long in it for a reason. This is a lesson we keep teaching, Stephen, here. So if you're talking about Roosevelt Field, yes, but that is 100 miles away from me.
Okay, semantics.
Yeah. But yeah, no, but there's not a lot of bookstores. Bookstores are like dinosaurs, like the dodo birds.
You say potato, I say rutabaga.
If you go walk through the airport and see, remember the Hudson News that you'll see in a lot of airports.
Yeah,
it used to be books everywhere. Now they have a tiny shelf, and they sell snacks and they sell water, and almost all book. I say almost all, not almost all. A lion's share of the books are sold online now. So what you won't get with self-publishing is the big houses marketing for you.
They don't do it anyway. Even if you went with
the key is they have to have a ton of buy-in, or they're going to go, well, I know we've signed this guy, but I've got something else to do, something else to publish or to market and promote that I like a little better than this. So you could just sit there for years in obscurity.
Yeah.
Well, I used to work for a company. We'll call it Penguin Random House. I don't want to put their name out there.
Just a generic.
We'll just call them Penguin Random House. And one of the things they used to do for the authors is they used to bring them by the warehouse, and we had like 1,500 employees, and they'd give us all T-shirts of the books, with the books on it, and then they have the authors come by and sign the shirts for us. Now, that costs them like nothing. They bring the authors by the warehouse and they sign shirts for us. But then the people who are all excited about the authors go out and tweet and in social media. I met so and so. And that was I guess that was their advertising. Have us do the advertising.
Yeah, it's an ego stroke too. I mean, you show up.
Because they put them on a forklift and they drive them by. Golf carts, and they drive by, and you have like 1,000 people chanting and applauding and waiting to see you.
Yeah, social media now is obviously the way guys like me get the word out. Whether to get them signed up for your email so they can stay up to date and get little sneak peeks. But social media is our form of the advertising that the traditional publishers used to do. So, I'm getting a crash course in that as well. There's certainly some professionals that you can hire that way better than me at that. There's a couple of good websites out there where freelancers of all sorts, whether it be editors, whether it be marketers, build your website, do your title, the cover of your book. There's all sorts of professionals out there who are better than you. It just costs money too. So you're self-publishing, you write those checks yourself, where before the publisher would write the book. So, but then again, your royalties are a lot better too. So,
you know what? Traditional publishing has become like the music industry. It is basically they're just going to take a percentage of your profits and not do any of the work and just capitalize on you. I've very few people have argued back on this point. I think self-publishing is definitely the way to go if you care about, and nobody does it. Well, I shouldn't say nobody. Very few people do it for the money. But if you're gonna do it, you're gonna put in all the hard work. You might as well enjoy the lion's share of the profits rather than still do all the work and let somebody else take the lion's share of the profits. It doesn't make any sense to me.
If a traditional publisher, if you're some of the elite authors, I'm sure they would sing the praises of a traditional publisher because, they're still selling hundreds and hundreds of thousands of books, and the publisher's making a lot of money. They're making a lot of money. And I just watched a masterclass with David Baldacci, who, if you read fiction thrillers of that nature, he's one of the most successful authors there are, and he's a lawyer as well. And he came to a point where he went, there's a little out of balance.
Yeah.
What you're getting, what I'm getting. he went to the table and renegotiated. And if you have the stroke, you can do those kind of things. I don't personally have that kind of stroke. So
now, is that a golf? Is that a mediocre golf reference that you're making there?
Well, it could be, and heavy on the mediocre. Yeah. Okay. You mentioned the chili dipper earlier. Excuse me. I put that in there so people would maybe go like, hey, I think I've heard of that. Yeah, that's a kind of a big no. It's 20 of us that get together every single year, and we do a Ryder Cup style trip, golf trip at different places in the nation, and we pick different captains every year, and we pick different teammates, and we call it the chili dipper because when you're playing golf, if you hit it fat, and you only you hit the behind the ball, and you only hit it a few feet, that's called a chili dipper. A chili dip it.
So I never heard that before. Wow.
Excuse me.
So, I've been around golf courses. I never heard, but that's because I'm from the Northeast and we don't eat chili.
Right, if you've never heard of
they eat chowders,
pure every time. Yeah, there's no.
I've never heard of chili dipper. I used to golf with my stepfather before he killed himself on the golf course, but I haven't been back since.
Gotta be a Texas thing.
Valid reason, probably.
Yeah,
I think that's a story for another day. I mean, I'm now that's probably a long-term story, but it sounds interesting. A guy offing himself on the golf course.
That was his favorite place to be. He loved being on the golf course. So,
yeah. Well, was Arnold Palmer there that day?
No, but I'm sure my stepfather drank an Arnold Palmer to wash down the pills.
All right. Yeah, now, Brett, the book isn't out yet. It's actually going to hit the market next week. Is that what you said?
No, in the coming weeks. So in my mind, I've got March 1st in my head. It could be a little earlier than that, but if you'll sign up at bradeldernovels.com with your email, you'll be able to get updates as to the exact publishing date, or visit my Facebook page at Brad Elder Novels.
Do you think in advance about who your demographic? Because I'm certain I know this, and I'm probably wrong, but I'm certain I have a strong sense of I know right from wrong on this, and who's going to be your target audience. Do you think about that in terms of
Sure.
in your marketing?
Absolutely. I do a little research, and the way I kind of look at it is, I like these kind of books. I'm 54 years old, so I'm thinking males between 35 and 65 is probably in that target audience. Some would say, well, lawyers, but I don't know that lawyers necessarily read legal light thrillers. Probably a lot of Texas thinking kind of people.
Texas thinking kind of people.
Now, just curious because of the demographics you mentioned. Especially like the 55-65-year-olders and older, is there a scene where Ryan Wolf?
Yes, Ryan Wolf.
Is there a scene where Ryan Wolf, let's say, is playing pickleball? Is there a pickleball scene where maybe he has to use a pickleball paddle to defend himself?
That's in the second book in the series.
I just want to say that the pickleball court that opened up here, it's a 24-hour pickleball court, and they do between midnight and like 4 a.m. packed with kids, young people playing pickleball. So not just old folks doing.
I don't get it. It's like
I think
it's like if wiffle ball and tennis had a baby and pooped out pickleball, and everyone's losing their mind over it. It makes no sense to me.
Or somebody had a clearance shelf full of wiffle balls and paddles and said, "We got to get this shit off the shelf."
I don't know if you know
Goodwill and was like,
is the greatest pickleball player of all time. He's in the record book as like the Babe Ruth of pickleball. Dave Portnoy.
I think pickleball is played at most truck stops as well.
No, that's
pickled balls. That's a whole other.
Yeah, those are guys. Yeah, that's what happens when you sit in a truck for too long. You get pickled balls, and then you toss them around.
Now, Brad, I think what you said there was quite a bigoted statement. You generalizing people who think I think you said Texas thinking people. To brand the whole state like that is just so bigoted.
You mean not like what we did before we introduced them, right? You mean not like what we did?
I did. Never mind. Forget what I said there. Yeah.
At least he's from there. He knows his people. We don't know his people. The closest thing we have to Texas is Ron.
Well, I spent quite a few.
I
years
live
down
closer
there.
to Texas than Ron does.
Yeah, but Ron has been to Texas more times than you have.
Yeah.
I mean, that's fair.
Yeah, I've been there a lot. I've been all over that state.
I would hope it would speak to a obviously a wide range of audience, not just a local audience. Someone who could see themselves in a very uncomfortable situation or outside their comfort zone, and ask themselves again, what would you do?
Would you consider yourself Texas thinking?
I
Because I don't think you are. You know why? Because you put mediocre in your bio there, and I've never met a guy from Texas who would ever describe himself as mediocre. They're all Roger Clemens. They're all, the best.
Well, I am probably a Hall of Fame pickleball player, though. So,
okay.
All right. There
I
you
played
go.
four times, I think.
Yeah.
So walk
Anyway,
proudly, young man. Walk proudly.
It's easy to pick on Texas from 1,600 miles away, but if I were there, I would be a pussy about it and say, "Yeah, you're right. Everybody from Texas is fucking great at everything, man."
We're proud of our state. We are. We have some silly style of thinking every now and then too. A little bit. I see on your side that says you encourage open. What's the open?
Open carry.
Open carry. Well, we do. I'm okay with that. But open thought. We don't encourage open thought here. As long as you wear our jersey, we're okay. And that's actually what sets me apart a little bit from others who probably vote the way I vote. Is we have just as much ridiculousness on our side. As long as you wear our colors or wear our jersey and have an R in front of your name, by God, everything you say is the gospel. I'm like, can we not look through a little bit of that? Can we not question a little bit of that? And we love government. Stay the hell out of our lives. Unless you're gay, you can't get married. And unless you're the police, then you have the run of the place. So there's some, I have a hard time marrying those two up with no government intervention, unless of course it's someone else's ox being gored, then it's okay.
Yeah.
Now,
I did a short on Thomas Paine last night, and it was all about, understanding government's role. And as I was doing it, I was definitely thinking that both sides of the political debate will claim this as the guy speaking to me, as he's speaking from Thomas Paine, I'm talking about, was speaking to me in common sense, and totally gravitate towards that message. And I thought that's really unusual that you could come up with any kind of message that both sides would adopt completely. And so I feel like it doesn't actually. It's publishing right now. I'm going to be interested to see what kind of comments that generates and from who, and who owns it, who takes ownership of it. It's just unusual. But I'm sorry, I cut GD off. He had
I would just say because Brad had mentioned about wearing their colors, and Texas, is it mandatory? Is the state outfit the cowboy hat and the cowboy boots? Is that like mandatory? I mean, it seems like it. I mean,
well, unless you want to get your ass kicked.
Because I've been to Texas a few times, and I'm not a cowboy. I don't like hats. Period. It's nothing against cowboy hats. I just don't like hats.
I don't own a cowboy hat. I've never owned a cowboy hat, other than maybe when I was 2 or 3 years old. I own one pair of boots that I've worn maybe 3 or 4 times. I don't dress.
Come to New York.
See, that's my point. When I was a kid. When I was a kid, I dressed up as a cowboy, and I wasn't a cowboy. These people, grown ass men, who some of them have been the closest they've ever been to a horse was they bought a can of cat food or dog food in the market, and that's the closest they've ever been to a horse, are dressing up like cowboys.
That's true.
I promise you, if you come to Long Island, New York, you will see more cowboy hats than you will in Lubbock, Texas. Especially on the South Shore, where there's a bunch of country clubs. I don't know where these guys have never seen a cow or a horse in their lives. They got belt buckles, they got cowboy hats, and they're just make believe cowboys. Now, coming back to me being a pussy, I was frat houses full of rodeo guys. Every time the rodeo came through, the frat houses would be overrun with the rodeo guys, real cowboys wearing cowboy hats. And then you don't want to be a fake cowboy. You get your ass kicked for that. So,
and you can tell the difference too if you've seen it before. Like, okay, that guy's been on he's a real cowboy. He's been on a horse or he's worked a ranch. And then you can tell that, as we call them, the drugstore cowboys.
Right.
I worked the ranch, and I still don't wear cowboy. Matter of fact, as soon as I could get my cowboy boots, and matter of fact, I found that was the first time I worked on the farm around horses and cows. I wore tennis shoes, and the first time I stepped in horse shit, I found the beauty of cowboy boots with nothing on the bottom of the sole, and that was it. But once I stopped working on the farm, I never wore those cowboy boots again, ever. Not even for Halloween.
I don't find them to be comfortable.
Yeah. Now let's bring it back to the book, because I'm interested in this. That you're a first-time novelist, right? But you've already got BradElderNovels.com. So that suggests to me that this is something you want to continue and do again. I guess the writing of the book was an enjoyable enough process. Yes,
it absolutely was. Surprisingly enough, it was. I just sat down one day and just started writing. I didn't have necessarily a plot in my mind. I didn't have an outline. I just started writing, and I found it to be. I couldn't wait to get out of bed and start in on it again. And I would read back through. I read back through, and to really tell myself where to go. And I really, really enjoyed it. And along the way, I thought, we could have some other avenues here, potentially another book, potentially a prequel, these things that, in my first writing of the book, what I thought was a finished product, I hired a developmental editor to look at it, and he cut a lot of words, because I went back into what he calls dossiers, which is a pretty fancy word for going too much into, one person's background. But I enjoyed writing people's backgrounds and what they did, because I could just make it up. I didn't have to pay attention to any facts. I could just make it up. So it was fun to write. So we cut out a lot of that, but it gave me ideas that, hey, maybe that's a storyline for another one, or maybe we can take it off here. But I would like to. We'll see. If this thing falls on its face and I get embarrassed in front of everyone, well,
I don't think that's going to happen. I have not read the book yet, but I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think people are going to tell you you're a mediocre author. I think you're going to get some good reviews on it. But in comedy, they call that getting the bug a lot. Nationally, they call it getting the bug. Here on Long Island, they say he's got the sickness, where you get involved in the creative art, and then it becomes a passion that it fulfills a void, whatever that void was in your life. It makes you whole in some way. Except you're Ron, it makes you very sick and demented. But most other people,
and I had no idea. I never considered myself creative at all. I was I guess maybe in my own way, I built a company, and you kind of create that out of nothing. But as far as artistically creative, I never considered myself one. And during COVID, we had a trial that was supposed to go in 2 days. It got canceled, and I thought, I don't have anything to do for 3 weeks, so I went to an art store and bought some canvases and paints, and I'll just try to paint. And the first few absolutely sucked. I'm not gonna lie to you, but at one time I had screwed up the painting, and I had made a stroke on the a paint stroke on the canvas. And I'm like, whoa, that looks just like a wave. So all these mistakes I made, I started to kind of learn about, different brush strokes and things of that nature. And it kind of grew from there. I'm still not good. But it awakened this creative side of me that I'll try it. If I fail, I fail. I'm willing to find out, though.
I'm curious, because when you
hit a B
before, what did you choose? Did you choose watercolor, acrylic, or oil, or did you just say, what's the cheapest you got? What did you choose?
I chose acrylic, simply because watercolor, I just remember the paint by number set as a kid. I thought that's what it was.
Yeah.
And then oil was, I guess it takes so long. And I tried a little bit of oil, but like, my God, it takes so long to set and cure. Now it's easier to fix your mistakes. So I tried acrylic because I don't like to I like instant gratification.
And it sounds like the technique that you employed to learn to paint was called the Rorschach method. That is, you make the line and he says, what does that look like to me? Oh, it's an ocean. And then you make another line and go like, what does that look like to me? It's either a tree or a butterfly. So that's you employed what we call in the arts the Rorschach method. That's yours cool. Up there?
That's one of mine up there. My whole goal is if you can tell what it is, I'm happy with it.
Yeah.
Or if it's close enough, you can say, yes, you got that right. Because to me, that's like 5 glasses of beer waiting for 5 people to join them.
It's the chili dippers. Yeah. You know, we waited for years for like a hybrid acrylic oil type of middle ground. And then they came out with them and nobody uses them. But it's a whole other subject matter for another day. Now, so with having the bug and writing and all this stuff, I do think you've painted yourself into a situation where you have Ryan Wolf could never die. I hate to be a spoiler here, but Ryan Wolf could never die because it's like Jack Ryan. He's got to be the protagonist in the next book, and people can always depend on that, right? So he's the hero.
I found that intriguing with great writers. We know Scott Harvath's not going to die. We know James Reese is not going to die, right?
Right.
But how do you create that within the reader that, oh my God, he may die here? You know, how do you create when we know that's not going to happen, right?
Right.
How do you make that so interesting? And that's challenging to do. And I hope I've done it at least half as well as they have. But I've always found that to be the mark of a really good writer, when you're on your edge of your seat, your stomach's in knots going, oh my God, my hero may die.
Yeah, it's like a Tom Cruise Mission Impossible. You know Tom Cruise is going to make it through the end of the movie, but still, however, you know, maybe Ron will because he's our show business expert, will shoot me down on this. But I always feel like you know that he's going to make it through, but you're still willing to go think he's in peril all the time. Like that's a really a great talent to be able to suggest that and get people nervous about it, even though they know the outcome. He's not going to die.
Or the twist will be you see him die, and when they want proof of death, they rip off his face, and it's not Tom Cruise, it's James Earl Jones. You know, that kind of thing. Because in Mission Impossible, everybody could be wearing a latex mask. You know,
that's true.
But for that moment, you think Tom Cruise is dead, and you're like, oh shit. How's he going to save the world now?
Now, Brad, do you, with this coming out in the coming weeks, maybe March 1st, are you planning any events for the marketing? Because you are doing all the marketing yourself. Do you have any kind of like special event? Are you thinking out of the box? Because a lot of authors just go down and I'll be on a podcast. I will put out some advertising and create a social media buzz around it. But none of them that I talk to are really coming up with any original ideas on how to market stuff. Are you?
Here you go. I got one. You're already doing the chili dippers, right? You do the chili dippers with other authors. Okay, so you take all these authors on a chili dipping tour. All right, and your caddies, they can't be authors. They have to be like people who are wearing your books or something, and the people the fans and stuff. Everything is like book oriented. The entire chili dipper thing. Okay, and you wager. The wager is whoever loses has to do a public reading of the book of the winner. It's just, that kind of thing.
Before, have you?
I'd just like to point out that he has a lot of talents, but marketing.
What are you talking about? I'm a great marketer. I invented the term black market.
Hold on. Let me finish my sentence. Let me roll back the tape to last week when you said, I'm good at a lot of things, but marketing isn't one of them. That is a direct
I've gotten better since last week.
Okay.
That's cool.
I've learned a lot.
I'm planning on doing a book launch party, a local book launch party. I am have plans to do so in Houston as well, because Houston is where Ryan Wolf practices and lives. And my title company's in Houston, so I kind of have a tie to there as well. So a couple of book launches, as many book signings as I can. You usually have to go local bookstores for those kind of things because I'm, me being an unknown author right now, I'm never going to get into, to the large stores at this point. So hit on some local bookstores, local libraries, signings, and then a couple of really cool launch parties and get everybody drunk, and so the media will write great things about me.
Now, is there a house that you have in mind that Jack lives in? I mean, have you been to the neighborhood and go like, that's the house I want him to live in? Is there like a physical house that you use as your idea for where he lives?
No, there's a street, but no house. I made up the house in my mind, and it's a pretty nice house. It's nothing ostentatious. It's pretty nice.
Ken Lay's old house. It's in Houston, right? Ken Lay from Enron.
It was available for a while.
Yeah, I think he's still in prison, isn't he? Anyway,
squatters' rights.
Yeah. Now you made me forget what I was going to ask him about. I hate you for that.
You hate me anyway. You don't use that as an excuse to hate me.
No, I don't. Yeah, I'm totally having a senior moment here.
Ron doesn't say much. He just sits there with that cool hat on and looks.
He's angry. He's angry, but he's also thinking about how he can call me a boomer or a retard. What else does he call me?
Monopoly.
You must be the Monopoly guy.
He's a Monopoly guy. Well, you could be honest here, Brad. Do I look like the Monopoly guy to you?
It's pretty good. I have to say that's reasonably. Monopoly guy's got a bunch of money, right?
Yeah, but it's not his money. It's not his money.
Now, I remember what I was going to say to you, because you started out like being a negative, like I'm unknown and I'm never going to be in the big bookstores and the libraries and all this stuff. First of all, I think Brad Elder. First of all, I think that's your mother and father were really good in picking a commercial name for you, because that will resonate with people. People will think, just hearing that name, oh, I know him. Like I guarantee you, if I say, if I go to like Readers, and there's very few readers left in America, but if I say, the author Brad Elder, oh sure, oh yeah, you've read his work. Oh yeah, Brad Elder just sounds like a guy you know.
It does. But, most people have to pick a fake name that sounds that good, like Tom Cruise or Brad Pitt. You're born with it.
It's God-given, or parent-given, I guess you would say.
Now, with the libraries, have you, because this is the thing I think a lot of self-published authors overlook, is the outreach to send them your book with a note and a personalized note, like the librarian there, and and then they will think, wow, I think I remember. Sure, let's push this book. This is somebody I know. Have you done any of that, like outreach to libraries?
Not as of yet, without the book being published quite yet, I don't have something I'm comfortable sending them. In the beginning is you start thinking about marketing, and I had some help. I hired a gentleman to write a marketing plan for me who's been around publishing for a long time, and library outreaches was one of them. And I thought, library, is that the place I want to go? But as I look at some other favorite authors on their Facebook page, they're at they're at libraries a lot, and they're doing book signings or what have you. So once I'm published, there's certain things you can do after publication, like the book signings and things like that. That it's definitely on my hit list to do.
Well, we appreciate you coming on and this morning. You've been a good sport. We'll put up with a lot of nonsense and bullshit from us, and you didn't run away. A lot of our guests, when we start abusing them, we see them in the back there, they run away, like thinking, I can't. But you're a good sport.
Yeah, they for some reason they think they're getting on something friendly, like The View or The Five or something. It's like, look, they're going to cheer us on. It's like, oh shit.
Would I be the Barbara Walters on The View? I mean, is she even still? She's probably not on. But who am I? If in that,
you're Whoopi. You're obviously Whoopi Goldberg.
Okay, GD.
just because you have a
GD,
hair.
the only difference between you and Whoopi Goldberg is you have eyebrows.
All right. BradElderNovels.com, folks. That's where you want to go. The book might be out March 1st. That's all I can tell you. Maybe March 1st.
If you'll sign up, you'll get alerts as to when the book will be out.
Let me pull the book out and say thank you, Brad, for being here. I hope you know what. I hope you have some use for this. I hope it helps you with the marketing. I hope people will do pick up the book. I definitely will when it's out, and we'll leave you a very honest review. That's what I do.
And come back once the book is out, so we can plug it and push it. And
I would love to.
We can do other things to the book that we're ashamed to mention on the air.
Yeah, see you on the golf course, I guess, because I'm not mediocre. I'm working at mediocre. Hopefully, before I die, I will get that way.
Have you played Bethpage Black yet?
Yes, I have. And I suck at that. Bethpage has 5 different courses, but the best one, the one they use in the tournaments, I can't even get on there. I mean, that's just kidding myself. I'm on the starter course.
Yeah, I think you have to be a pretty low handicap, and you have to get there pretty early in the morning to get your
So, what is your handicap, Brad? Other than golf clubs, what is your handicap?
6.7, I think, is what it is after my last round. So,
wow, that's not mediocre.
Mine's 100%. I don't know what that means, but
it means you should be doing a UFO show Monday nights at 9 p.m. here on the Mindle TV network, or conspiracy theory show, whatever that we're calling that. Anyway, Brad, thank you for being here. Have a great day, and we will put out some effort to help you sell some books and get people to read your books. So thank you.
Appreciate that very much. Thank you, fellas.
Have a great day. Bye for now. Brad Elder. You know what? Let me just say that Texas A&M, the Texas A&M Lubbock Texas Tech Texas A&M game was one of the highlights of my life. Not everyone can have a name like his in mind. Oh yeah. Well, Tim, not to be. Listen. Brad Elder is a better commercial name. Well, I'm sorry to say that. I listen, as a Matt Napo who has no fucking commercial cachet to my name, Tim Loss, I would take Tim Loss over Matt Napo, but I
think Tim Loss would be a good sports name. You know, only because we the headline. Yeah. Tim Loss won today, or Tim Loss lost today, or
right. It'd be a good pitcher. Good name for a pitcher. Yeah.
Tim Loss losing streak continues.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or Tim Loss pitches 3 Ks.
BradElderNovels.com. That's where you want to go. You know, there's not a lot of, and again, thrilling. First of all, people aren't reading that much for all the books that are out there. But thriller novels, for some reason, the hashtags like, oh, thrillers, you must mean a movie, because nobody has got thriller novels anymore.
I wonder if you got Christopher Walken to do the audio book, if that would sell well.
It would take a month just to get the first chapter. Well, you know,
Did I tell you about my little interaction with Christopher Walken?
Christopher Walken.
No, tell us your story.
It's not a story. It's a brief interaction. Once upon a time, there was an actor who talked to Bruce Willis about having a watch in his ass. And I asked Christopher Walken, I sent him an email asking him to be on the program, and he replied back, he doesn't do email. How did you fucking reply back? How did you read what I said and reply back?
His people did it. His people did it using his name.
He has one guy hired just to tell people that he doesn't do emails.
No, his wife Georgia. His wife Georgia is one of the, and I'm sure she represents him. She's one of the biggest representatives for people in the arts there is. I mean, everybody's agent, and I did write to her. I didn't get any response from her. But from him, I don't do email. And what he said is, I don't do email. I don't have a computer or a smartphone or any of those devices. I was like, come on. First of all, you sent this it came back from Christopher Walken. You got to have a computer to have email. It just didn't make any sense. But that's the kind of guy he is. I appreciate. You know what? Most guys don't even bother writing back. So there's that.
Yeah, it's true.
But to write back, I don't do email. It's very weird. All right, I'm going to do news, and then we'll get prepared for a lesson in audiobook production and why everybody should have their own audiobook. You guys are ready for that, right? You're all psyched. Ron, I could tell Ron is psyched. You must be the Monopoly man. Go ahead, say it. Go ahead, say it. I'm going to fight. What happened to the news? I lost the news?
And a lot of that comes.
That sounds like news. A lot of that comes.
That was Alan Edwards, but that's old news.
In the Middle East, Israel has announced that 8 hostages due to be released in the first phase of a ceasefire agreement with Hamas are confirmed dead. Joseph Eckerson reporting.
The announcement follows intelligence reports that matched information provided by Hamas. The ceasefire, which allowed displaced Palestinians to return to northern Gaza, remains fragile as both sides navigate the complexities of the agreement. Meanwhile, Hezbollah has rejected any extension of the timeline for Israeli troop withdrawals from southern Lebanon.
The launch of DeepSeek R1, a new AI model by Chinese startup DeepSeek, has sparked a social media frenzy.
The AI's rapid rise has disrupted the tech industry, with users sharing memes and commentary about its potential impact. The company has also temporarily limited registrations due to a surge in malicious cyber attacks targeting its services. Meanwhile, the U.S. stock market experienced significant losses following the rise of DeepSeek, a low-cost Chinese AI bot. Liam White reporting.
The Chinese government has dismissed claims by the CIA that COVID-19 likely originated from a lab leak, calling the assertion extremely unlikely. Benjamin Wright has the latest.
Officials pointed to findings from a joint China-WHO expert team, which concluded that a lab leak was highly improbable. The statement comes amid renewed global scrutiny over the origins of the pandemic, with Beijing urging a focus on scientific research rather than political speculation.
This is the latest news headlines.
The Sundance Film Festival is underway in Utah, showcasing independent films and documentaries from around the world. Jessica Oakley reports.
Actor Robert Redford, founder of the Sundance Institute, discussed the festival's history and its role in supporting emerging filmmakers. The event has also featured appearances by notable actors, including Glenn Close and Ed Harris, highlighting the festival's continued influence on the film industry.
Newly appointed U.S. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth has pledged to overhaul operations at the Pentagon, emphasizing a shift from traditional practices.
Hegseth outlined plans to bolster border security, including deploying military personnel and aircraft for immigration enforcement. His remarks come as the Trump administration prepares to issue new orders on transgender military service and COVID-19 policies. Vivek Ramaswamy described the event as a Sputnik moment for the U.S. tech industry. Kevin Sanders reporting.
The Democratic Republic of Congo is facing escalating violence as clashes between M23 rebels and government forces intensify. Lawrence Keller reports.
Videos shared online show rebels patrolling the streets of Goma, a major city in the region. The UN has temporarily relocated non-essential staff from the area, and the Security Council has held an emergency meeting to address the crisis. In Kenya, protests against economic hardship and government corruption have turned deadly, with over 60 people killed and 1,200 arrested.
That feels better. Doesn't that feel better?
A lot better. What happened to the music in that? That was weird.
I think that Edwards got a copyright strike, and so he changed the music. He's like, shit, I got a copyright strike.
I got my channel taken down for a month because a guy who had written a book about the origins of COVID, and that title of his book was Lab Leak. I got pulled down off of YouTube for spreading misinformation for that. And now the CIA is saying it was a lab leak, but China is still saying no. What does China say? It was accidental?
It's not likely. They didn't say it was out of the question. They said, we don't think that's right.
At the time, they were saying it was a natural thing, like bats in the forest were right. 1,000 miles south of Wuhan or something were spreading it to humans. I don't know. It's just so weird how we are in this place where I wanted to bring this up to Stephen. The CIA. Oh, no, it's not the CIA. The Trump administration, the new press secretary came out and talked about the drones, saying the drones were FAA approved. That some of them were hobbyists, some of them were. It just doesn't seem add up. That they were businesses using drones, and Biden knew about it all along and just let the panic or hysteria spread. Go ahead. You want to say something about that?
I don't know. It is none of it makes sense from beginning to end.
Right.
Because at first the government had said that these things were untraceable. We don't know where they're from, who's flying them, and why. And that came from everybody, including the president. We don't know who they are, where they're from. And now all of a sudden, Trump takes control and releases a report, and all it says is, "Oh no, we know who's flying them, where they came from, and why." What?
Wait, and the hobbyists were all of a sudden getting these drones that were bigger than hobbyist drones, right? And
yeah, there's no way.
Nobody has come forth and said, "Yeah, it was me flying my new 30-foot square drone." Or nobody has come
anything that weighs more than a pound, you have to register with the FAA anyway. So there's no way some hobbyist got some unregistered thing that big in the air and everybody was just okay with it. There's no way.
Right. So
I can't even believe the story is still around. I mean, it was completely obvious what it was from the beginning. And
what was it? God, I'm still not sure.
No, it was obviously that we were fucking doing it. This is how they get you ready. You do shit like this, then in a few months it'll pop up again. I mean, come on. It's our government. We know how it works. And the fact that we wasted even this much time talking about this story.
Yeah, I mean it almost has to be ours.
It doesn't make much sense to me. You're saying the Biden administration did this on the way out for what purposes would they be doing it on the way out?
No, I'm just saying the military or Homeland Security or whatever fucking group gets behind it. You know that it was a test. It was drones, because if it was anything threatening, they would have shot it down. I mean, it's the cards are so obvious, and for people to say, "Oh, it's UFOs," no, this is how the government tests you. Yeah, it might have happened during the Biden administration, but you know it's going to come back during this administration.
I mean,
I think anybody with any common sense would know it was a drone. It was an Earth-made phenomenon.
Oh yeah, well that's
I mean, anyone that was still calling them UFOs was just a fucking idiot. Honestly, these were clearly drones. It's just a matter of who and why. And I agree. I think they had to have been some sort of experiment from our side, because we saw what happened when the balloons came over. They shot them down with F-16s. You're gonna tell me that they let these things over sensitive military installations, over the White House, over everything, and everything's gonna be like, okay, sure, just let it go? No, that shit doesn't happen. So I mean,
Tim Loss is not at a loss for words. I can't keep up with, if you guys can, with all the comments here. But what I'm curious about, and it probably because what it's going to come down to is GD's mother beat him from wearing cowboy hats and cowboy boots on a golf course when he was beating Tiger Woods. But why would the press secretary feel the need to bring that up and lie about it yesterday? That's what's confusing to me. Like, what are they trying to do?
Because Trump's been pressed about it since he took office, and this was yep. Even when he was signing executive orders, he was asked about it.
I don't think anybody's had time to give a shit about that, because
he's been asked about it.
It's just a distraction.
He's been asked about it 3 times, and this was his response to it. It was what it was.
He's also been asked about the price of eggs, and he's also been asked about the price of rent. And guess what? He doesn't do anything about that. But it's a distraction. It's a distraction. He needs people to focus on a bunch of crazy shit. Basically, they're planning on taking over the government and dismantling.
I hear you what you're saying, but if they wanted to create people talking about crazy shit, why would he come out with the most mundane? It was just hobbyists. That's not something that that was forget about it. We know what it was. It was just your neighbor Joe with his new drone. No big deal there. It's not like creating more hysteria or anything. It's like
but people who talk about it goes like, there's no way they were just hobbyists. Just like Stephen was saying, if you have to register, you have to blah blah blah, and then that becomes a new narrative. In the meantime, they're back to stealing the government, breaking the government, and not doing what they said they were going to do, or some of what because they said they was going to break the government, but the people that voted for him apparently voted for him for economic reasons.
My brain is very small, but it's hurting right now. You're saying they want people to be suspicious of them, so they put out something that everybody will call bullshit on, and say, well, we know, we want everybody not to think we're just full of shit. That's what
it just depends on. It depends on the theory you're willing to go with, because the theories go from the very mundane to from like, oh, it was just the government testing drones and surveillance to this is the government preparing everyone for when the aliens do come, or maybe this was Project Bluebeam and those drones weren't even there, they were just projections. And
I just said my brain is really small. Now you come out with this. Google cars everywhere. Why does anyone care? Google cars.
I think what he's saying is we have cars all over the place taking pictures of our homes and eventually making maps out of it, which
and it makes sense.
But the difference is you see the cars, you know what they're doing, and even if you don't like the idea that they're taking a picture of your house, you understand that maybe in a week or 2 or 3 or a month you can go to Google Maps and maybe see your house. Maybe
you can actually go online and have them censor your home as well.
You know what I'm upset about on Google Maps or Google Earth or whatever it is. The picture of my house is like 15 years old. It was before.
Is it still? Because mine was like that. My house was very. Yeah, it's now. I think they even have my newest car in there now. I think they upgraded it.
Wow. Yeah. So Robert A. Lane is here with us now. Robert A. Lane is an audiobook coach and producer, transformational speaker, and life coach. That's a lot for a guy. I mean, I thought I had a lot of jobs. This is all at once he's doing this stuff. Robert is an audiobook coach and producer, life coach, and inspirational speaker. He spent 30 plus years working in the entertainment industry, including radio, voiceover, and post-production. He spent 14 years working for 20th Century Fox. Well, sorry, but it's the 21st century. You got to get with it, man. And a feature project manager. He's here with us now. Let's say hello to Robert A. Lane. Robert, good morning.
Morning. I'm enjoying your conversation. Thanks for bringing me on.
Well, you're the one. You're the one who's enjoying this. I knew there would be someone somewhere. Now, are you a musician as well? Because I see keyboards behind you in the pictures that we have of you.
Yeah, when I was a kid, I thought I'd wanted to be a fireman, but then when I taught myself how to play guitar when I was 13 years old, I was like, rock star, that's it.
Okay, now did you start playing guitar to meet girls or to...
Well, I was pretty shy kid, I was very introverted. I wanted to meet girls, but I was very shy.
Yeah, me too. He's just saying that to tweak me a little bit because that's exactly why I started thinking.
That is not entirely true. Or entirely false.
Stephen heard meet girls and he just left. Yeah, I know what I wanted to do today. And now he's headed to a local high school.
That's the same because I had a message for Stephen from the other chat room. Someone said that the drones were Stephen flying around in his wheelchair.
Let me Robert Lane. Now you don't have the A in Robert Lane Coaching, right?
Yeah. I mean, if I put my middle initial in there, it'd say Roberta Lane, and I didn't want to confuse people.
Okay. Now most people, you coach people on doing their own audiobook. Do I have this correct?
Yeah, that is correct. Yeah, I focus
everybody.
I'm sorry.
Oh, go ahead. Go
I
ahead.
was just going to
Good.
say,
I talk to a lot of authors, and I always mention and GD asked a previous guest who was an author, who would he have do the voiceover, and we talked about that. But I usually suggest that they do it themselves, and everybody is really reluctant to do that. They hate their own voice, even when I have guys on who sound like they should be on radio or whatever. They hate their own voice and don't want to do it. Is that the biggest obstacle?
You know what? That is a common obstacle that I deal with authors who go through my audiobook coaching program. And the very first lesson that I talk to them about is about mindset, about building confidence, about loving their voice, because your voice is part of who you are. I mean, that's part of your author brand. That's your author brand is everything that encompasses who you are, the way you were brought up, your personality, your sense of humor, your values, your habits, all that creates who you are, and your voice is a big part of it. So getting over that I hate my voice, I mean, we've all done it. I've done it.
But is it also that some people don't realize that people don't hear us the way we hear ourselves?
That's right.
And so people say, I hate my voice, but you don't know your voice. You don't hear your voice. This is not what you actually sound like. This is what you sound like to yourself. But
that's right.
Here, let's play the tape. This is what you sound like.
Yeah, absolutely. So people don't, realize that. And you know what? It's not that big of a difference, really. But I understand it. What we hear in our head, we're resonating this sound in our skull, and then we hear it both internally and externally. But when you just hear it externally, yeah, it's going to sound different. But
now, a previous author was the author of a legal thriller. Where the protagonist is a lawyer doing some Tom Clancy type of saving the world stuff. Wow. And so that is different from nonfiction. You work with both fiction and nonfiction authors?
I mainly work with nonfiction authors. I do work with fiction authors if their book is written in a way where the author can still narrate it and it makes sense for them to narrate. I mean, obviously, if you have the love romance in space and you have 1 million characters and dialects and, that's one thing. Then I would hire a voiceover person who's professional, who can do voices, who can bring characters to life. But mostly I just deal with authors who are telling a memoir, or maybe they're a coach or an entrepreneur or educator or a teacher. It just makes sense for them to tell their story because it's their story. No one can tell their story better than they can.
Are you separating
too, right?
Are memoirs their own category versus like true and fiction and nonfiction? Is memoir a separate category? Because they're kind of your memory. So they're as true as you can get it, but some of it may not be as accurate as you think.
Yeah, I mean, I look at it as there's fiction and there's nonfiction. A memoir, well, for example, I had an author who told a fictional story, but the whole point of it was to represent what he was teaching as a coach. So the scenario of his book was fictional, but the concepts that he was teaching were nonfiction. So it was kind of a blend of both.
Yeah, it does seem that reading nonfiction, especially a memoir, would be much easier than doing a fiction book, a novel or something where you have to take on characters. And I think they overdo that, to be honest with you. I mean, I used to engineer for a company a record company back in the day that did audiobook production. And I thought some of those guys who were reading audiobooks at the time, I'm talking about the late 80s and early 90s, just overdid the theatrics of it. Like if I'm going to listen to a book, I want it read like I would read it in my voice, or one voice the whole time. But now, do you personally coach people? Or do you engineer and be in the booth while they're doing it? Is that your role?
Yeah, so the way I designed the audiobook coaching program, it's a 6-week program, and I take the authors through every step of the way. So, set up and preparation of their own recording space, and I provide them with professional microphone, headphones. It's theirs to keep. That's part of the program, and show them how to set up their space. Then I do coach them on how to do a great, compelling, and engaging narration, both from the practical standpoint, mic placement and body posture and hydration and all that. But then we really focus on the intangibles, which are the emotion, the energy, tapping into the core reason of why you wrote your book in the first place, because you want to bring that in your narration, in your delivery. So we go over that as well. And then I'm an audio guy anyway. It's when I started in radio, when I started my career. So as they record their audiobook, they're sending their audio files to me, and I do all the post editing, clean it up, make sure they meet the exact specifications for publication, because that is an issue. I've had authors who've gone to studios, recorded their audiobook, and then they upload it to Audible, and it got rejected because it didn't meet their specifications. And that sucks. That's a bad thing to happen. So I do the uploading for them, so that if there ever is an issue, I know what it is. I can re-output a new file. Everything is good.
What kind of specs are we talking about? Like frequency, like 44.1 K. I mean, what are the kind of things that we're talking about here in those?
Right. I mean, so it's, they prefer 44.1. MP3 is the format that they request. There's a certain, like you have your RMS, you have your peak levels. They have.
Yeah, I was about to say, is like peak levels is also an issue.
Yeah. So they're very specific on that. So you have to meet in those specific requirements. If it's too hot or too soft, it'll get rejected. And the good thing about when you upload files, for publication on Audible, Amazon, and Apple, it goes through their analyzation process, and it will identify an issue right away. So at least you don't have to wait for the audiobook for them to analyze it later on and then say, oh, guess what, you got to redo all these files. At least right away, and then you can make the fixes.
Are those three that you mentioned, Amazon, Audible, and Apple, they're all A's, and that explains the Robert A. Lane. That's the A stands for Amazon, Audible.
Yeah, I call it the AAA.
Yeah. Are those and does everybody need to be on all three, and are they can you self-publish that, like just a self-publish, not on any of those?
Yeah. So the great thing about you need to be on Audible, Amazon, and Apple. Now that there's the process is under a company called ACX, which is under the Amazon umbrella, and that's where you set up your account for publication into Audible, Amazon, and Apple. So it does all three. Those are the three platforms that authors really do need to be on, because that's what the general public knows of. There are 40 plus other distribution platforms, but again, just throwing it out there and being on every one may not be the best marketing strategy for that author. If you can just tell somebody, hey, can I get your book? Yeah, it's on Audible. Great. I know what it is. I know where to go. I can grab it.
Yeah.
How about, can I get your book? Yeah, I have 3 in my trunk right here.
Yeah, you can do that too.
Well, now it's got oil all over it, because we know you had an oil spill in your trunk.
And blood. What's his blood from?
Oh yeah, I forgot about the blood. You know what? It's been a while since we hacked up a good body in your trunk, and I forgot about the blood.
Or bad body.
Right. Speaking of marketing strategies, now a lot of people, and I've noticed this, they put out the audiobook first, and somebody I asked about it said Audible, I think it was Audible, insisted on doing the audiobook first. That seems counterproductive to people who are actually doing books they want people to read. If you put out the audiobook first, nobody's going to read your book. Is that a new strategy, and is that the way people are going?
Well, the audiobook world's been growing and expanding for the last several years. Matter of fact, in 2019, revenue for audiobooks surpassed ebooks, and that gap continues to widen. But in regards to doing your audiobook, you have to have, at least this is Amazon's rules, you have to have at least the ebook version published, because since Audible, Amazon, and Apple, for publishing your audiobook is all under the Amazon umbrella. They pull information, they pull the description of the book from the ebook into the audiobook description. So you have to at least have your book published as an ebook first. Now, of course, you can go through the recording process and have everything ready to go for your audiobook, but yeah.
Right. Now, big part of business is understanding of, first of all, identifying a need, and then being pretty quick, one of the first adopters to fill that need. Doesn't seem like there's any competition for you. You are alone in this industry, and there is a need for it. So, do I have that right? First of all, are you the only player in the league for this?
There are,
service?
well, there are other companies that produce audiobooks, but that's all they do is produce it. And, again, there's, like I heard of one company who runs your audio files through a cleanup or restoration program, and that's all they do. That's not good enough as far as I'm concerned, because you have to listen to everything. And when I go through the editing process, I listen to everything in real time. If there's a mouth noise I can remove, I'll remove it. If there's, what if the author mispronounced a word or even slurred a word? Some restoration program's not going to pick up on that. You have to listen to everything very, like with a fine-tooth comb. You just have to.
So do you keep razor blades around to slit your wrist at any moment?
No.
That sounds really tedious.
Only for tape splicing. That's it.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah, that's
you're wow.
That
You're
is
that
old
old.
school. Yeah, I was debating if I should even say that, because people are probably going to go, wait, tape splicing? What is that?
I have a tape splicing machine in my basement. I still have an old one for 8-track, not 8-track, for reel-to-reel and for 8mm film.
What's a basement?
Oh, it's fun. When I was working in radio, I was training this intern, and we had the reel-to-reel deck, and had the splicing block there, and clueless, he didn't know. He goes, "What is that?" Well, it's a splicing block.
Yeah.
Well, what do you do? Well, when you edit tape, you put the tape in there and you cut the tape, and he went, "Oh my God, you cut the tape!"
No, AI is not a concern for what you do at the moment, because I have had my voice cloned. One of the AI things I use for video editing, it lets you upload your own voice, but when it reads back the text, it is the most retarded version of me. And there are lots of retarded versions of me, but the most retarded version of me is reading back my own
think
voice.
you are the most retarded version of you.
Let me just remove him from the show. No, he's right. He's right. When he's right, he's right. But so AI is not currently a threat to what you do. But do you see a point in time where this is something to be concerned about?
Well, I'm not a proponent for AI, and here's the reason why. Every nonfiction author, and I'm a big advocate of this, every nonfiction author needs to narrate their own audiobook, because again, it's their story. They lived it, they breathed it. No one can tell that story better than that author. Now, you've published a book, you're an author brand. Your product is your ebook, your paperback, your hardcover, and of course, your audiobook. Now, if you go the AI route, that's a misrepresentation of who you are, because that it's not you. There are subtleties, there are nuances in how you speak that AI is not going to be able to replicate. And again, why would you want something else replicating who you are? Right? And you're going to pass that off as being the expert in your field, and yet you have some like fake voice representing you. It's not smart.
Right. Sensibilities now, and the because I know you have some. I think I'm guessing, being by the transformational coach, life coach stuff, that you have some psychological training, psychology education in this, because you're dealing with people who were initially reluctant to listen to their own voice, and so they're obviously going to be a little sensitive about it. In the coaching of this, do you have to kind of have some psychology chops and understand the best way to be constructive in your criticism without breaking their soul, breaking their heart, or getting them just like too offended to work?
Yeah, I mean, one of the first things that I have authors do is just look. You gotta get yourself focused and grounded. You gotta be in the present moment. You can't be worrying about the past, worrying about the future. You got to be in the now, because you got to be in the right frame of mind before you even hit that record button. You want to get into your zone, tap into that core reason again of why you wrote your book, and then part of the coaching is again building confidence. if you're not confident in your voice, well, let's find out the reasons why, and let's dig a little deeper, and then and then give them some exercises on how to build confidence.
Why not record like casual conversations? In other words, hit record before you're ready to record, just so you can catch, just so you can find out what you're like when you're not, quote, so they get used to not, when people know they're being observed, they change their behavior.
Version of him speaking right now. Hold on.
When people know they're being observed, they change their behavior. So if you turn it on and they can forget they're being observed, they get to hear what they are like naturally. And then they can learn to imitate that, as opposed to turn it on and, now I'm being recorded.
What he's saying there is basically the advantage of being on this show is we know nobody's listening, so we can all just be ourselves.
Yeah, well, before I greenlight an author to just dive in and start recording, they have to send me a sample. Send me a paragraph.
Semen, what?
I'm sorry?
Stool, semen, what? Blood? What kind of samples?
Well, I gave up that aspect. It just got a little messy. I try to keep my studio clean here.
Oh yeah, biohazards. Yeah, I got you.
Yeah. Just send me just send me your voice and just a blood sample.
Yeah, for people out there, because this is a pet peeve that came up with me. It's called a drum throne, not a drum stool. I had somebody who wanted to borrow my stool yesterday, and I was like, you know what? It's called a throne.
Yeah.
Anyway, but now the other way, people are going the other way by doing a podcast podcasting, recording podcasts and transcribing those podcasts into book format. Doing it in reverse. Is that something that you've worked with or understand at all?
Well, I really don't deal with that. I really deal with authors who have books that are published or are going to be published. So they are reading out of their book. But the great thing about doing an audiobook is like you write your book in a certain way, so it's great when you read it, but sometimes translating it into audible form, you may need to alter that a little bit. So like let's say, like in my book, I have movie quotes that open each chapter, and if I just read it verbatim, it's not going to sound good. So you do have the freedom to put your personality into it and just say it in a way that just makes it better for the listener. So at least you have that.
What part of the country are you in, or I'm assuming you're in the country, the United States, or you might be in Canada. But what part of the world, let's say, are you in?
I'm based in Sedona, Arizona.
Oh, nice. Yeah. So let's go out and paint a cactus painting today.
Got the beautiful red rocks.
Right. Do people have to be local for you to work with them, or do you work like Zoom call, like teleconference type call?
Yeah, my clients are from all over the country. So the first step is that we have an initial Zoom meeting or a call, just so that we can talk about their book and I'll give them details about the coaching program, how it all works, get them enrolled. I ship them out their equipment. As they're waiting for the equipment, they can start watching, the video lessons, and then we meet every week one-on-one for Zoom meetings and start the process. So you don't have to. Yeah, we don't have to be in person. You can be anywhere to do.
I want to go to Sedona though. That would be a good excuse. Like,
come on by, man. I'll show you. There's a great Mexican restaurant down the street. Yeah. Best margaritas, I'm telling you.
But there's no employees there. They've all been deported. Sorry.
Yeah,
it's the way it goes. I'm sorry. We always end up. I force that into a political discussion. I'm sorry.
Ron's shaking his head, man. Come on.
Well, he wants to play "Are You a Retard?" but he doesn't know whether he should play that or "You Must Be the Monopoly Man." So anyway,
sending your parents a letter. Tell them you're a whore.
I'm not even sure what she's saying. She's just it sounds like my wife just screaming at me. I know the word whore. I recognize that.
Oh, of course you do. That's the state word of New York. Whore. Whore. The official state word of New York.
So now, how do people mostly find you? I mean, a lot of people are writing memoirs. It's like, is there like I don't know, a recommendation circle? How do people find you? I've
I
written
would
my
think that
book.
most people would find you interesting. I don't know how other people would find you, but I find you interesting.
Thank you.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
I think that's how people find me. Interesting, funny, charismatic.
All right.
I thought that was a very insensitive question, man.
Yeah, I mean, people write memoirs all the time.
Yeah.
I think we're coming out with like 8 billion books. Somebody told me yesterday that there are 10 billion subscribers to YouTube, and I was like, well, there's only 8 billion people. Who the hell? Where did these other 2 billion subscribers come from? What other planet?
Pseudonyms and illegal voters.
Yep. Yeah. Right.
There are probably 6 billion memoirs out there being published right now.
Yep.
How do those people who are looking, because their publisher, or if they're self-published, they don't have a publisher, but their publisher is not going to mention you to them. They're going to want to do it all themselves. How do people mostly find you?
Yeah, I usually work with authors that have self-published, and self-publishing is great. It's not like it was 10, 20 years ago. Where self-published was the bad word, and
I think
everything.
I think it's a preferred method. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely, because you retain more control over your product, and traditional publishers. Like I had an author who wanted to narrate her own audiobook, but she had to get permission from her publisher, and they wouldn't give it to her.
Wow.
And that's just, that's the type of control that traditional publishers have. Or they'll say, yeah, but no, we're going to have a narrator narrate your book. We don't want you narrating your own audiobook. And that's again, it's a disservice to the author. It's not a fair representation of the author. You can have the best narrator in the world. Like I would have loved to have, I don't know, Morgan Freeman, narrate my audiobook. But the thing is, it's still his interpretation. I wouldn't maybe say, and talk about the concepts that I talk about in the fashion that he does. So it's important for the author to narrate their own book because that's their unique stamp.
Thank you for saying Morgan Freeman, because earlier in the program we had an author on, and GD asked him who he would have narrate his book, and he said James Earl Jones, but James Earl Jones is dead. But I went right to Morgan Freeman. Morgan Freeman is the voice. He's the guy. The Shawshank Redemption and all that kind of, his voice. It's the voice.
Yeah,
anyway.
he is great. There's no doubt about it.
Now, do you? Because memoir writers generally they're one-off writers, right? Or do they write a second? Does anybody do a second one?
Well, I guess it depends. For example, my book is about my experiences in the entertainment industry, and then I tie some coaching lessons from that. But maybe I can do another book about my experiences in the music industry, so there's memoir number 2. So
I get it, but a big part of author branding, right, is that getting to know the name, and it doesn't seem to me like that would be even part of the equation for somebody who is just going to be a one-off writer, or am I wrong? Is branding still important for somebody who's just going to be a one-time author?
Yeah, I think branding is important because, again, you are an author brand. You are the brand. And once you write your book and you publish your book, welcome to entrepreneurship, man. You're now an entrepreneur. So embrace that and do the marketing for your book. Plan, do what I tell authors is while you're recording your audiobook, for example, show some behind the scenes, show the preparation, show yourself doing it because people like to see that. And then that creates hype. So then hype up the book on launch day and then continue with some kind of marketing strategy to still put yourself out there.
Right.
And even if it's just one book.
Earlier, you mentioned getting the equipment for them and shipping the equipment. Well, I spent a brief period doing podcast production for entrepreneurs and people who were basically in the financial industry who wanted to do a podcast and turn that podcast into a book. And part of my role was buying equipment for them and sending it to them. And they were really intimidated by it. And I found I had to generally make a trip to wherever they were to show them that part. That's the technical stuff can be as intimidating as reading for the first time, right?
It could be, but part of the deal. Well, there's a couple reasons why I send the equipment. First of all, I know what I'm sending them, so I know what it's going to sound like. So that helps me as an editor, when it comes to EQs and getting all that dialed in. I could have a basic template in my system because I know what microphones they're using. The other thing, which is really important for the author, is that when they're able to set up their own recording space, now it's on their timeline. You can go to a studio and record, but what if you're having a bad day or you're just making a lot of mistakes and you wanted to knock out a couple chapters and then the engineer's like, that time's up, kid. I got another client. There's that extra pressure on your shoulders to try to get this done. And with that, you're not going to do a great narration. So having your own recording space is definitely lifts it off the shoulder.
Because every morning he writes a brilliant piece, and then he writes it as I'm saying stupid stuff here, and he's writing down a brilliant piece, and then he says, "Good morning, America," and then it all falls apart. He can't read his own writing, and he gets stuck in.
Well, it's not that I can't read my own writing. I can't see my own writing. There's no light there, because if I turn the lights on, I turn Native American.
All right,
and I listen to him and him and him and him and him talk about how red I look. And so I don't hear that. I turn the lights off, and guess what? I can't see in the dark. Who knew?
Yeah. All right. Fine. Be that way. I'm just wondering. We don't know what happened to Stephen. Because you just said him and him and him and him, but there's one of them hymns is not hymned or something. Anyway, so how if you don't mind me prying a little bit, how many of these have you actually audiobook novices have you turned into audiobook professionals? How many people have you actually worked with?
Oh, geez.
Hundreds?
Not hundreds. I'd say maybe about 20 or 30 at this time.
Wow. Yeah, because I would, you know what? It takes a little. It's not just establishing yourself as somebody who could really help them with this. It's getting them off the fence and unreluctant to take the first step. Right. That's the biggest challenge, is getting people to put their toe in the water.
Right? You have what it takes. You really do, and it just really comes down to accepting and loving your voice and knowing. I mean, if the author is confident enough to write that book, you just bring that same confidence into doing the narration. And again, part of the coaching, of course, is building that confidence and finding out, those reasons why maybe there is some hesitation, and just doing things to get over those fears.
But there's some people who they will never like their voice. Or, for example, and I'm speaking from what I've seen and observed. Fran Drescher, for example, not big on the sound of her voice. That's just the way she sounds. And she is aware that if she did like an audio book with her voice and during the whole book, it would just drive people crazy. And the same with Sofia Vergara. What beautiful woman. But she does
Viagra,
not like her.
I think it's Viagra is how you pronounce it.
No, Viagra is what it substitutes for. You don't. If you have Sofia Vergara, you don't need Viagra, or shouldn't.
Right.
So, but she says there's nothing she can do with her accent. That's just the way she sounds. She's had speech coaches, and that's just the way she sounds. So she may do a memoir, but wouldn't want to do the book. So how would you get someone who's that their hatred of their voice or their discomfort if their voice is that ingrained? At what point do you just say, okay, I get it, forget it, I'll take your money, but I can't help you? No.
Well, luckily I haven't come across an author whose voice was so horrible.
I'll send Sophia your way. I'll send Sophia and Fran your way.
Well, but Ron has written a new memoir called "What Are You, a Retard?" And he's going to be needing some help. But this is his voice. Listen, see? Now, can you work with somebody like that?
Your teacher, and I find you attractive.
Thank you. But those challenges, having people who are just like really difficult to work with. Have you had that experience yet? Like,
probably. Well, there have been a couple of authors that were a little challenging. One of them. Not gonna say names.
All right.
But like, I mean, and it's just logical things. Okay, so when you set up your recording space, obviously you want to be in an office or a room or somewhere that doesn't sound like a bathroom or sound like a cathedral, because all that reverb and echo, not a good thing, right? We don't want to hear that for a 10-hour long audiobook. So setting up your space in a decent space is one thing. But this is what I say: you got to take away distractions. Put your cell phone in another room. Put the pets in another room. Tell people in your home, if you're recording in your home, that, hey, don't bother me for 2 hours. I'm working on my audiobook. Don't disturb me.
Wow.
Had an author.
And don't bang on the desk.
And don't bang on the desk. Don't knock on your mic.
Right.
I had an author who had her cell phone next to her microphone as all the time. I keep saying, put it away. In the middle of her narration, bing. So it's like, okay, guess what? I can't edit that out. You're gonna have to redo this paragraph because
it could be worse. At least you can hear the bing. If it was on vibrate, you would have this sound coming through the mic, and it'd be, what the f is that?
Well, I'll tell you, it's just so funny. It's like, and she just kept going as if nothing was wrong, or her dog and her cat were in the room. So you're hearing walking on a wood floor, and you hear a dog shaking their head and their collar.
But what if you want to bang on the desk all day?
Yeah. Oh, I'm like, I want to bang on the desk. It's just like, oh.
When he means a different kind of bang. But I did. I had an audio project last week where a podcast the guy wanted me to edit, and it was a conversation, and he kept doing that. And when he did that, it was like, donk. It had like a big echo behind it, and I try to be as subtle as I could in saying you got to be really wary, because you can't, especially in between words. If you're gonna do it, wait till the end of the sentence where I can actually cut that out, where you're not talking over it. But if you're talking over that, it's impossible to take that out. You can't EQ it out.
Right.
But if you beyond that, deaden it. Put some foam on the bottom of that desk so you don't hear that big, like, empty, hollow garbage can sound on it.
Have a separate desk for your banging, and your mic. Have your mic there, and your desk for banging, like right here.
Yeah.
There, perfect.
Well, Ron meant is bending Steven over his desk and banging him that way. I know that. See, me and Ron, we're I don't know.
No, I figure you're a boomer. You should recognize the Todd Rundgren reference.
I was going to go there. I was going to say that was the Todd Rundgren of authors, but
I want to bang on a desk all day. I get it now. No, thanks for clearing that up. I am a boomer, but I'm a boomer with dementia. So now, in the the promotional photo that I have for you, it looks like you got a DAW that is filled with tracks behind you. People aren't needing to learn all that stuff, right? Or are they?
Oh no! This is that's the studio back here. That's my Pro Tools system. That's where I do all my editing. No, the authors do not have to deal with that.
Okay. Yeah, I was wondering, like, basically, we're just talking about one track. You're not talking about like multi-track recording, right? Or do you?
Well, the process of recording an audiobook is that everything is done in sections. So every piece of the book is a separate audio file. So, for example, my book has 14 chapters. That's 14 audio files right there. Then there's opening credits, closing credits, introduction, forward, prologue, epilogue, dedication, all those pieces.
Can you do it in stereo? So like the vowels are like in the left side and the consonants on the right, or something like that? No, well, just so you get the sensation.
Mono is preferred. I mean, you can submit a stereo audiobook, and again, it depends on what you're doing. So, for example, I listened to an audiobook from a radio DJ who had retired, and it made sense for him to do his book in stereo because he had clips of things that he did on his radio show and some music and all that. It made sense for him as a DJ. But for most authors, you don't need to do that. And, and it's actually preferred that you don't want to make this big production out of it. Just like what you were saying before, Matt, about, I just want to hear the book. I want to hear the author tell their story. I don't want all these other things going on that's going to distract from the story.
One of the things that I ran into, I had a memoir author on, and she talked about her book for an hour and a half. And then 2 weeks later, I had another author on, and he said, "Oh yeah, and I wrote the book for that author that was on your show a couple of weeks ago." And I was like, "What do you mean?" I knew who he was talking about. I said, that was a memoir." He said, "No, I was her ghostwriter." Now, she never said that, but that is more prevalent. I'm finding more and more ghostwriting, even in memoir situations. So they'll sit down, the person will interview them, get to know their story, and then write it for themselves. Is that something that you run into, like ghostwritten memoirs?
Well, they sure don't tell me if they are or not.
Yeah. Well, she didn't tell me that, and that was I found out on the air 2 weeks later, and that was a surprise to me, and I felt like a little bit lied to, a little bit deceived. We talked about her book as if she wrote it, and I'm asking her questions about enjoying the process of writing, and she was, yeah, it was a fun write. Yeah, well, you didn't write it at all you did was talk to a guy.
Yeah, I guess she could have admitted that it was ghostwritten, but and that is a service that a lot of book coaches offer, or at least some book coaches offer. And maybe some authors really struggle with the writing process. So okay, I get that.
Right.
But
well, hopefully I will be able to send you, because I do author interviews. Way too many. I mean, it wasn't set up. The evening program was supposed to be about authors. We're getting a lot of authors in the morning program. I mean, more authors now than comedians and musicians, which was the original target audience for us. So I will be able to talk to people, because I always ask about the audiobook, and everybody says no, or they're reluctant to read it themselves and all that kind of stuff. So I think we can work together. I can send you some people, and hopefully that will be a good thing.
And I'd love it. If you go to robertlanecoaching.com, the first step is, of course, just to schedule a call with me, because I talk to every author before I enroll anybody, because it's a relationship. It's a business relationship. We're going to work together. I want to make sure that the author resonates with me and I resonate with them. I don't believe in sending them to some landing page of, let's scroll, give me your credit card. Very impersonal. Don't like that.
Yeah, I hate it. So thanks for being here. Hopefully, there's definitely a need for what you're doing, and that's like I said earlier, that's the biggest part of entrepreneurship, is understanding what the need is. How can I help people add value?
Yeah.
And I think you've done a great job at identifying the need. There is a huge need out there. Now we just got to get more people out there to do it, until the point where you're just overwhelmed and have to turn people away.
I'd love it. And again, as I say, all nonfiction authors really do need to narrate their own audiobook. And, I love coaching and helping people through the process, because that's something that most audiobook production companies don't do. And it's really important.
All right. Well, thank you for being here today. And Robert Lane Coaching, folks, people on the radio side, robertlanecoaching.com. Is the place you're going to want to go. Robert, thank you for being part of the program this morning and bringing a new idea, new service to light. So thanks for being here. Have a great day.
Appreciate it. Thank you so much. Take care, gentlemen.
Bye for now. Hey, look at this. Look at Ron. He got all washed out somehow.
Steven said he had a complete power blackout, a complete power failure. And he tried to send us a...
So he can't lift weights? Is that his problem?
Welcome to Minucci's.
Welcome to Minucci's. Yeah, Ronnie, you're being quiet. When you're being quiet, we're always wondering if you're plotting a mass murder or something.
No, I was just listening.
Oh. Are you ready to write your book and have it do an audio book?
No, I don't think I couldn't just sit down and write a book.
How often do you do this, DN? I have a confession here. I've never listened to your DNR podcast, but I want to if I find the time. Is that just audio? Is it video? What's the deal with that?
Yeah, we just do audio. We've been toying with the idea of doing video, but
who wants to see Damien's face?
Yeah.
Do you have guests, or it's just you and the co-host every week?
Normally, it's just me and my co-host. On a rare occasion, we'll have a guest, but most of the time, it's just us.
That's because they only have 2 mics. No, I'm just kidding.
Whatever, there's a value in that, I guess. Now, tomorrow night at Grove 34, I think I've talked to you guys about this. Grove 34 is a very small club. It's smaller than the Giggle Room. It's in Astoria, Queens, and you would not know there's comedy going on there by walking down the street. It just looks like a tiny little restaurant. Mark Norman is going to be is performing there for $20 tickets tomorrow night. Norman is an enigma to me. He has not had a Netflix special, right? To me, in my view, he has one.
Yes, he does have a Netflix special.
Oh, I thought he only did a YouTube special that he put out himself. So I'm wrong. No, well, that clears things up, because in my mind, and I don't know how you feel about Norman, but I feel like he's one of the brightest stars in comedy. He's certainly one of the most prolific joke writers out there, and it's just astonishing to me how he's not. His name is never mentioned in the top tier of comedians. I think he is. I think he belongs there. Like, he definitely. Again, I think he probably spends too much time on podcasting and overexposes himself. He's one of those guys. But I'm surprised that he's playing such a small room for $20.
Well, maybe, and I'm only saying this because that Christopher Titus does this. Before Christopher Titus releases his special, because he doesn't do open mics per se. He doesn't do open mics. So this is his open mic, and so he's rehearsing his bit, honing it, and getting paid to do it. So people are getting like this new material as he's working. Say, okay, this joke didn't work out that well. I'll tweak it. And then he goes to another place, another small club, $20 a pop. And then, and then in about maybe 6 months, he'll say, this is my special. And then all those people will be like, okay, I remember when he was working on that.
Yeah. Like CK was doing that at Gov's. I thought this Monday. It might be next Monday.
No, he's doing 3 nights at 3 different clubs there. Like,
oh, he is?
You mean Louis CK, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's doing like the rounds. He's hitting every club. I think it started Thursday, or maybe it's next Thursday.
Are you guys Norman fans? Are you fans of Mark Norman, or you just think?
I honestly don't know who he is. I know the name. I don't know who he is.
Wow. See, that's.
But if you ask him, if you ask him about me, he'd say the same thing. So it's no big deal.
If I asked you about him, he'd say, "Get the fuck away from me, you bald-headed fucking weirdo." That's what he would say.
Yes, because you gotta have your dick in your pants when you talk to him. He's not.
He doesn't like gay. He doesn't like people. You know what I admire about Rogan, about Norman, is he will go on Rogan's program. He's one of the few people who have gotten his way into the Rogan circle jerk thing, and will be really hard on Rogan, like tough on him, and not take his bullshit and call him out on it, and just rank on him. And very few people in the Rogan circle jerk universe will do that. So I admire that about Norman. He's one of the few people. Maybe he's just got no self-awareness. He's one of those guys like had no filter. But I appreciate that. When more and more people need to call out Rogan on this stuff. Now, I don't know if you know this, but Andy, who was on the program yesterday, he was being critical of Rogan, right? He was the head writer for the Man Show when Rogan was the host of the Rant. So I didn't bring it up yesterday, but it was refreshing to hear Andy kind of rank on Rogan a little bit. And Rogan has never had him on the podcast. Now I know why. But it's just unusual to see that kind of, I used to work for the guy, but he's a piece of shit. He didn't say it in those words, but interesting stuff. Anyway, and we got anything? We got showbiz, or we just ending this thing here? We crashing into a wall here. What are we doing?
We have Minucci stuff.
No.
Oh, hey, can we show C-SPAN on here?
What?
Can we show C-SPAN on here? Because it's news.
C-SPAN? Yes.
All right.
Wait, what happened on C-SPAN? Something good? Or somebody exploded
Well,
their cock?
RFK is there right now for his confirmation hearing.
Whoa. I just want to say, you know what? Somebody brought up
Here we go.
It's for any Americans under Medicaid or Medicare, and I do not want
There are
Medicaid.
the freeze is affecting beyond Medicare and Social Security.
Is that
I would
Stephen
hope you
Hawking
would know
asking him
that
questions?
to be able to answer some of this. Now, you've said
Mark Warner.
You want to immediately get rid of 600 NIH workers on on day one. When we had our meeting, you said you actually like to get rid of 2,200 people from HHS. Which offices are you going to start cutting and riffing these 2,200 workers from?
Senator, there's 200 political appointees that are changed during every administration.
So if you got rid of those 200 political appointees, you're not going to replace them with your political appointees.
Well, President Biden this year changed 3,000 employees at HHS. 3,750
So
at NIH.
your 2,200, what departments are you going to pick them from?
Well, the same as President Biden did when he changed 3,000 out.
Let me just, I'm down to a minute 30. The chairman's been generous with colleagues on both sides. I may have to go a couple minutes over, but let me just say, so let's just answer, this would be, I hope, since you're asking to become the top healthcare official in the United States in terms of HHS.
Wow, we have to comment on this a little bit to keep it fair use.
To be the senior advisor to the president.
Okay.
Yeah, it's
Well, let me just say this about him before we even comment any further. If you have his voice, that broken, psychotic, whatever the brainworm voice that he has, I don't mean to pick on him, but I'm picking on him. If you were a cop, that just if it just sounds guilty, right? You could ask him, "How's your day?" What the fuck are you trying to hide, man? You're guilty. Right? He just sounds guilty from the get-go. But he was asked a question there, a direct question. Well, Biden, no, I'm not asking about Joe Biden. I'm asking what you would do. Well, Biden, and he kept going back to that. Like, I don't want to answer the question. I want to talk about Joe Biden. What department would you pull them from? Well, Joe Biden. Like, dude, you just sound like somebody who can't be trusted. So.
But that's most of Trump's cabinet picks. They sound like they can't be trusted.
Right, so, I get it, but the voice. The point I was making is that voice adds to the. What do you know?
Weirdness.
It's like a guy who's stuttering all the time. You're guilty. So it's not good. It doesn't come across.
The thing is, what I don't get is like, okay, Mark Warner said to him, "What departments would you pick her from?" And then he goes, "Same one as Joe Biden." It's like, what is my next thing is, if you think Joe Biden is so bad, why would you duplicate what he did?
Right.
What would you do? Not what you copy from him, because obviously you think Joe Biden is evil. So what would you do?
Wait, we need to turn back the tape where the pounding on the desk thing.
Yeah.
All right.
I was pounding on my pad, not my desk. See, that's my pad.
I was pounding on my cock. That's just how hard my cock is. Because of you. I'm looking at you. That's how hard it gets.
It's the Whoopi Goldberg hair, isn't it? It's the Whoopi Goldberg hair.
Okay. Somebody, a supporter of RFK, brought up a 20-year-old or even older than that Senate hearing where RFK Jr. was the expert testifying about mercury poisoning. And she said, "Look, nobody was calling him then." I was like, you're equating saying that mercury is toxic, something that we was well aware of before RFK Jr. was born. You're saying because we weren't calling him crazy about that 30 years ago, that you're equating that with saying no vaccine is ever safe. No, there's no such thing as a safe vaccine. This is why people are calling him crazy. It's because he's fucking crazy now. He wasn't saying crazy things.
And also between taking the whalehead home and being a predator, and being a Kennedy. Let's just face it. When you're born into quote American royalty, you're going to be a little bit fucking crazy. There's some fucked up that's happening in there.
Well, his cousin or his sister?
Yeah, it was
one
his
of them.
cousin. They called him a predator or something.
Michael, Caroline called him a predator.
She came out and said he was putting like hamsters and stuff in a blender.
Yeah, mice and chickens in a blender.
No, that's Jeffrey Dahmer, methodology, MO. That I would be looking into like maybe killing or whatever animals and leaving them in the park wasn't his only thing. It's almost a telltale sign if somebody's doing that.
Now here's the thing. His thing is going to be, when I say his, I mean Bobby Kennedy Jr. is going to say, well, I was feeding my hawks and they they were baby hawks, they need the food broken down. My thing is, but you were enjoying it. Okay.
Yeah. Yes.
That's the thing. Yeah, I understand that because I've grown things up to feed, I've done that to feed other animals as well. I didn't get off on it. I didn't enjoy it. I didn't invite my friends over to watch me prepare like I was top chef or something.
The operative phrase there is "get off on it." It seemed like it does seem like an arousal thing.
Yeah,
I love watching these animals get eaten alive. That's that's Jeffrey Dahmer. That's what it is. So
it's from the other day I was watching a video on TikTok, and it was a boa constrictor had a squirrel in its thing, and another squirrel, either the parent or the mate, attacked the hell out of that snake and kept biting it and attacking the head, and then the snake would go after and eventually it rescued the other squirrel and dragged it up a tree. And my wife couldn't watch the video. And I said, honey, it has a happy ending. She goes, but I can't watch that squirrel suffer. I said, but it's a heroic story. It shows this other squirrel is not giving up. It's like, no, I'm not giving up on you. And even when it's released, even when it got the other squirrel out, it was like laying there lifeless. And he kept nudging it until it started to move again. And then he picked it up and took it up the tree. And she couldn't watch it and even though it had a happy ending. So a sick fuck who can sit here and do all that and enjoy and get off on it, I can't get. He's going to be our next. He's going to be the next secretary. But
try to point out like a video that I know has a happy ending to it, and not just that, not the dirty kind of happy ending that Ron's thinking about, but the life affirming. Oh, that's nice, happy ending. I won't watch that. Stick with it. I would not show you something where the bad guy wins.
And that's true. I wouldn't. I would not show my wife something like that because I can take it. She can't watch even if it's like fantasy. She's like, I can't do that. I can't watch that. I said, honey, it's just a movie. No horses were actually hurt in this Western. Okay, their horses are trained to fall down. When he bang, the horse falls down. She goes, but they're hurting the cat. I said, no animals were hurt in this movie. That's it. They're stunt pigs. They get paid more than we do.
Do you think they should have a special award in the Academy Awards or whatever, Golden Globes or whatever these are, for best animal actor? Falling down by a horse.
They may, because at the end, if you ever stuck around to the end of the ceremonies, they list like 1,000 people that have got awards that were never mentioned on screen. Because my bass player has a Grammy, and he wasn't on television, but his name was at the scroll at the end. It's like, and other Grammy receivers, like, there he is, my friend, right there.
Does he have a Grampy? He has a Grammy.
He is a Grampy, but he doesn't have one.
Do you guys have anything to promote this week? You guys doing anything performing wise? Are you active? Are you no?
I'm revamping my Geek Salad page. Go ahead, Ron.
I'm off this weekend, but I think I'm going to go down to Frederick tonight for a mic. So
I'm sad that you're off this weekend. I want you working. If you have a last-minute show that you need a feature on, call me and I'll hook you up with Ron Kane this weekend. Don't call me if you're interested in GD. We don't want him working. We don't want him ever working again. Tonight,
Tuesday, I'll be in Freehold, New Jersey.
Ooh, Freehold.
Yeah.
As opposed to
is that next to Glory Hole? Is that near Glory Hole, Jersey? Glory Hole, Delaware?
Not Hole, not Freehold. Freehold.
Yeah, I'll be at Uncle Vinny's Comedy Club.
Oh,
Cool.
Uncle Vinny's. You know, they were supposed to be like a governor with it. They just dropped the ball. They were going to be sending us comedians and all that kind of stuff. Uncle Vinny's. I should restart that thing. I just want to say, Jackie does Uncle Vinny's a lot. I think he's got a date coming up there soon. Jackie will be on Friday. And I'm going to ask him again, because I've had this conversation with him, and I could swear that GD was present when we had this conversation about Fran Drescher. Jackie knows Fran Drescher. I think he was friends with her. And he says that's not her voice. That's always a put on. I'm pretty sure that, unless my dementia is kicking in right now, which it could be.
I watched her in documentaries, and that was the voice she had, you know.
All right. Well,
I mean, she did.
It could be that I did say it could be my dementia kicking in, didn't I?
Because I think she does. She may get a little more nasally for the character when she plays it, but that's pretty much her voice.
All right. Well, we'll clear this up, and it could end up that yes, indeed, it's just Matt on a dementia trip. It could be that I just need more ketamine in my coffee.
He's talking about a different Fran Drescher.
Yeah. Tonight, speaking of ketamine, I have a guy on who he prescribes ketamine, cannabis, all these kind of things for treatments of a bunch of maladies that people might have. So we'll be talking drugs tonight. Are you excited about that? Talking drugs? You're not going to join me. You're not going to leave and listen. You don't care about my shows.
Is today Wednesday or Tuesday? Today's Wednesday, right?
Wednesday, yeah, it's Wednesday.
Wednesday.
Yeah. Wednesday.
Okay.
Yeah. But so that's what I'll be doing tonight. So, and Ron's not working this weekend, and you're not working this weekend. Reva's got another show coming up on Sunday, right?
Yeah. I'm going to be working on my taxes from last year. My wife does our taxes, and she needs me to finish doing all of my receipts from last year. And right now they're just spread out on the dining room table in piles.
I thought we weren't going to have to pay taxes. I thought that was going to be eliminated.
And that's just on tips. I have to.
No, the IRS, all IRS was going to be abolished. No more IRS, no more income tax. That's the promise that was made. Also, on day one, the Ukraine war is going to end, and egg prices were going to come down, and food prices were going to come down. All those things were promised.
And rent prices are going to come down, and
abolishing the IRS and replacing it with tariffs was the plan.
I think when Trump said "drill, baby, drill," he meant holes into the Constitution.
Speaking of drilling,
I was raped and sodomized at the P. Diddy party.
Do you know how I got these scars, nigga? I got them through going through the trenches.
I'm a real ass nigga.
If you haven't been through some serious things, then don't fucking talk to me. A real nigga's been through some real shit.
I was raped and...
Now that's Instagram?
Yeah.
Wow. What the fuck is wrong with your viewing habits that they would show you that? Or
what's wrong with the people that make those things?
Yeah. You can catch that guy opening at the Baptist church this weekend.
And when you say opening, oh, never mind. I would never be shown that. I would never see that on Instagram. Of course, now today probably will pop up.
Now, what was he putting in his mouth that kept popping up as like powdered sugar or something?
I think it was just he had like icing all over himself. That was his thing, and then doing nitrous.
Putting something in his mouth, and it kept whenever you talk after you would.
Does it concern you at all that Instagram thinks that you're the kind of guy that needs to see that?
I don't know. Is it concerning that he's going to be the next Secretary of Labor? No.
Yeah. All that is very concerning. Yes, it is. Absolutely.
That's the guy that you want going in front of Congress. He was taking hits before each.
I tell you what, I'd rather have that guy than some of the people Trump is picking in for these cabinet spots. I know who are getting them. I don't know, how this is going to play out. But yesterday, I forgot to mention this in the opening. Yesterday, there was a massive, and I'm not talking about my cock here, a massive demonstration in Berlin against far-right fascism. And I was like, wow, the tables have totally fucking flipped. Germany is doing these massive protests against Nazism and fascism, and America is openly welcoming it. It's like 1936 turned inside out, and it's now completely the opposite. We are welcoming fascism here, and they are protesting against it. What happened?
Matt, I think I have something that you might be happy with. I think I'm not certain yet. One of my cousins is very much into politics, and he sent me a message last night, and it says, "Are we ready for a civil war yet?" So he's calling for and he says, "Can we call for a civil war now?" It's like, so.
Well, I do think we need to resist with more than just like peace marches and that kind of stuff.
I agree.
But a civil war, I think we'd lose. Not because we're all pussies. I mean, I think I established it that I was a pussy early on in the program, but I don't think we're all pussies. I just think that the passion of people who were willing to dress up as whatever that the guy with the wolf head in the insurrections, we don't have any of those nutcases on our side, do we?
Well, we do. We don't have as many. The thing is, when we have when progressives have members of their family that do that, you get them institutionalized. And on the right, they just say, "This is let them roam free range." They have free range lunatics, and our lunatics we go like, "Okay, you need help, right? You need help.
Yeah.
Let's medicate you."
Couple of things that we're seeing more and more of not buyer's remorse. They were ICE taking a guy out who had a Latinos for Trump shirt out. ICE arrested this guy, had him in handcuffs, ready to deport him. Latinos for Trump. Like, you voted to deport yourself. Another guy who was crying online that his Venezuelan wife is being deported while she was in the process of trying to do it the right way. But he's an avid Trump supporter and saying, "Oh, I voted for you." Like, you think he cared that you voted for him?
Yeah, you did right. You did your part. He's in office now. Fuck you.
Right. So there's a lot of these people coming, and then more and more of these pardon J6ers are they're committing real crimes. Meanwhile, we're deporting children because their parents came here without without going through the whole process, and we're deporting these children for that. But meanwhile, we're letting rapists and murderers and these crazy cop shooters and whatever just out of prison to walk free. And it's just like, you know what? If Biden would have pardoned anybody who would commit a crime, it would be a major, he pardoned somebody and like 3 days later they had killed somebody or raped somebody. It would be all over mainstream media. Trump does it and they completely ignore it. They don't even, the only way I know about it is through alternative media. You know what? On that note, let me bring up the Jim Acosta thing. You guys know about the Jim Acosta thing? No.
Is that Bob Acosta's cousin?
Jim Acosta was a CNN reporter for 18 years. Very tough on Trump. Asked him some questions, got thrown out of press conferences with Trump. Trump called him a loser and all this stuff. CNN somewhere along the line bought in and became more right wing. They're not the Clinton News Network anymore. They are the Cuck News Network, Cuck for Trump. And they wanted to move Jim Acosta's show to like midnight or 1 a.m. or something, and trying to force him to quit. And he did. He resigned on air. And good for him. I mean, he's having some principles and saying, stand up to the tyrants. You know what? I'll find something to do. I'm not being part of this network that is just kissing the ring. More and more of these, CNN used to be the opposition network, but now they're becoming more and more like Fox. They're just Fox too, and desperate for ratings. I get it, but the mainstream or that kind of media is just all becoming the right wing voice now, and it's good to see somebody have principles, even though it's going to cost them. Got to be costing them millions of dollars to walk away from that. So good for him. Quit on air. And I admire that. I mean, obviously, you got to swallow more than just your pride. Your finances and all that stuff become questioned. Now, I'm out of a job that paid millions of dollars. Where do I go from here? I don't know, millions, but definitely hundreds of thousands of dollars. So good for him.
He may have also seen it coming a year ago and started squirreling away money in his mattress.
Well, yeah. I think MSNBC will still hire him, right? Or maybe. But they seem to be going out.
If Rachel likes him, if Rachel Maddow likes him, then they'll hire him.
Is she the boss there?
She is. I think she's the most. She's probably the most. Well, she's definitely the most popular anchor that they have on that network. And then I guess maybe.
She calls their own shots. Like she'd say, "I'm going to do my show, and then I'm going to quit my show, and then I want to start it again."
Well, she never quit her show. She never quit it. She just went to doing one night a week, and now she's doing 5 nights a week again.
Right. Do you think that will make any difference?
What, the 5 nights a week thing?
No, that she is on the air as that. She might be one of the few voices of the opposition, the resistance to tyranny, still on the air. But do you think that will make a difference? Because again, this overwhelming sea of voices that we hear now of just kiss the ring and become, Hitler Youth. That's what.
Even if we just have one voice of reason, if we have 150 million people who want to follow that voice of reason and take action, we'll be okay. It's not how many people that are speaking, it's how many people that are acting that makes a difference. Okay. You can have one. Back when there was only one Rush Limbaugh, okay, that was it. But he had millions of followers who are acting on every fucking word. Okay. And now they have like the airwaves like crazy. But back then, there was no Fox News. Before the Fox News, back when Nixon was in office. What?
I don't know who sent this picture. Was it Ron? Was it you? Who sent this picture in the text messaging?
I did.
Oh, that's nice. We should be showing that. I can't describe it for the people on the radio because I lack the vocabulary to actually describe that photo of somebody holding a portrait. Of a sex act. So you know what? How many people are willing to take action on it? We'll see. I'm losing my faith in that. Yesterday I said I think Trump will, and I've been saying this for a while, will end up like Mussolini, like Hitler, Nero, all these guys ended up. But I'm losing faith in that because I'm seeing more and just so many fucking people just who I never expected to go kiss the ring, and it's definitely.
We'll know when Trump feels absolutely threatened because it's like Putin does not go out like he used to. Putin used to be out riding his horse on without his shirt on, and now Putin knows that he's vulnerable. I mean, physically threatened to be vulnerable. People want to kill him. He knows that, and so he's like very he has food tasters, and he's surrounded by. His table is now 60 feet long, so you can't get next to him unless you're his, super cool security guy or something like that. When Trump gets to that point where he's totally isolated himself, he knows that somebody wants to take him out.
Yeah.
And he's not as loved as he thinks he is. He's just feared by other Republicans. You know?
All right. The next thing is just coming back. They came out and said the drones were nothing. Today, we'll expect to hear that Lee Harvey Oswald did act alone. And all these fucking conspiracy people are just like, oh, crying. Why can't they just say it was the CIA? I want it to be the CIA. Right?
Why not both? Why not Harvey from the back and CIA from the front?
Okay.
Why not both?
All right. Let's wrap
And once
this up.
again, it doesn't change anything.
I don't know. I think once we find that out, the price of eggs will go down, the rent will go down. You know.
Yeah, how foolish of me.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, Ron. I don't think you have a grasp on reality, Ron. I think you've lost it. I didn't want to be the one to tell you this, but you should hear it from a friend.
But if you bring in some brain gray matter into a grocery store, you can get $1 off your eggs.
That's right. Just tell them it's chitlins.
Yeah.
Although that's intestines. What is brain? Is that that's not egg cheese. What do they call brains in the supermarket? They don't call it brains. They call it something else.
I've never encountered brains in a supermarket, whether it's in the meat department or behind the cash register.
What about cow tongue? Have you seen cow tongue in the stores?
No.
Really? What kind of fucking state do you have? There's, I know they sell cow tongues and brains and head cheese and stuff like that. Because I've seen it. I've seen it in stores.
Head cheese I have seen, and I always wondered if that was, well, never mind. But no cow tongues, no brains. No. Maybe at the butcher, but not in like the Stop and Shop.
No, in the market they used to have, and it's like huge, sitting on the little cellophane thing wrapped in plastic. It's just a huge tongue just laying there.
Well, you missed a golden opportunity to go to, while you were in the hometown of Billy Joel, to go to a supermarket and look for your tongue or brain tongue.
I didn't miss that opportunity.
You passed on it.
I passed on it.
Yeah. You took them all. No, you won't take them all. Whatever. I'm gonna crash this into a wall. Do you mind if I crash this into a wall?
Crash it.
Go ahead, Ron. Say the phrase that pays.
And remember, turn on your radio.
Monopoly
Mission inside me.
You know what I missed?
That's what I call schlong division.
I love that one.
That's what I call schlong division.
See, I didn't.
His hands were soft and supple.
And his dick was soft. Or did I just take that back?
What you wanna do, baby? It's on you, baby. Walk around nappy. What you wanna do, baby? It's on you, baby. Walk around nappy.
I'm sending your parents a letter. Tell them you're a whore.
Walk around nappy.
Oh my fucking god!
to me, listen to me, listen to me now. Listen to me, listen to me, listen to me now. Listen to me, listen to me, listen to me.